The tape was ground. Shut up. The tape. What's ground? What's the tape? We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape was ground.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
What's ground?
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape was ground.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
What's ground?
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape was ground.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
The tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Film guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't gonna play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
What's ground?
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. What's ground?
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
What's ground?
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
What's ground?
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Monday evening. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. Is Bama in trouble? Miami outlasts Louisville. LSU handles Arkansas. PU Mizzou was written in the notes today by somebody, so we'll see what that's about. Army and Navy continue to win. Thank you for your service. The servicemen out here disrespecting folks. Just costing folks their job, embarrassing them on their home turf. It's a long couple weeks for the opponents playing the servicemen. We'll talk about it tonight. South Carolina absolutely obliterates Oklahoma. A tremendous weekend of college football. And I think that's where I want to start tonight, guys. It's going to be a little bit different of a show. That's where I want to start tonight. The fact that through 8 weeks of college football, have we had a dud of a weekend yet?
No.
It's been nothing but banger after banger after
honestly,
banger.
I feel like that's how it is every college football season. I can't remember a week in particular where you go, man, everything that we thought would happen happened.
No chalk weekends.
Yeah, no game where it's like, oh, all right, every game was a blowout. This stunk. Like, there's always something to deliver on.
Yeah, and it's like what I've loved too is like this upcoming week. We were supposed to get Florida State versus Miami, which was what we thought was going to be a deciding factor in the ACC, or at least an indicator of maybe who was going to be representing the ACC. But now we have Texas A&M, LSU, the two undefeated conference teams in the SEC that face off. So you kind of get replacements now because college football has been so crazy.
And College Game Day is going to Bloomington.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Me personally would have went to Vandy. Why not?
What's more, that's college football 2024. Indiana getting College Game Day or Vandy being ranked for the first time in a long time after a 10-point win at home against Ball State, who is 2-4 in the mid-majors.
It's got to be Vandy. Because every now and then College Game Day will sprinkle in a rando. Like, come on, bro. Why are we going there?
It's the Big Ten, so
Yeah.
you catch the right schedule, and you can kind of walk through that one 8-0. You know, I think that's where Indiana's at, despite the fact that Signetti's out here with a wagon.
Yeah, and Game Day will also do this, where it's like, hey, we're going to go to this school that we've never been to before to kind of spread the brand. Like, if you go to LSU twice a year, every year, like, people are going to get tired of that. So.
Straight up in honor of fairness.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, we're also going to talk about where we were right, where we were wrong. Future headlines that sound crazy but could be real. I think that'll be fun tonight. And top 5 wins of the college football season. But first and foremost, I want to ask you to go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. And if you're looking for a new book this season, BetUS is indeed the answer. 150% deposit match on up to $2,000 on your first deposit. 125% deposit match on your next 2 deposits. Guys, that means you can get 150% and 125% on your next 2 over there on BetUS using promo code YouTube150. It's a tremendous time to be over there with BetUS. It's a tremendous time to be on this network as we continue with this, insane amount of growth over the last several weeks on this channel. I think we're up over 5,200 subscribers in just the last month. And it's been a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. It's been a tremendous amount of work. And I think we might, take a breather this week during the bye week. I'm contemplating giving you boys the Wednesday show off. But I may just tell you to suck it up and work like the rest of us.
Well, I mean,
it's not sucking it up.
There
It's
wouldn't be
work.
a sucking
That's what
it
we
up.
That's what we do.
Just do it.
I love these guys, man. Just ready to do the work. I love that. Where do we want to start, boys? Do we want to start with this Bama in trouble segment? Because losing 24-17 on the road to Tennessee, a good Tennessee football team, it's an admirable loss. However, the ways in which you lost this football game might sit a little differently for Alabama.
Well, it's not only that. My entire life of consciously watching college football, which I would say pretty much extends the entire Nick Saban era, that was a game Alabama always found a way to win. There were games that Bama lost. There were games where Bama looked bad. But when it came down to it, it seemed like no matter what, they always made the plays they needed to, and that just was not the case there. Now, you can look at it holistically in that point of view, where you can say, yeah, there were a lot of things that went wrong. Yes, Tennessee's a good team. Yes, Jalen Miller didn't play a great game. Yes, the defense looked pretty decent. It was just towards the end there. But overall, it's just that fact that for 17 years going into that game, and it was, it's a one-score game, I wonder how Bama finds a way to pull it out now. That's not the case anymore.
Well, and it's happened twice now. And I think that's kind of what has shown that, this is a different head coaching staff. This is a different Alabama team. Because against Vandy, the whole time it was, how's Alabama going to pull this one out? How are they going to win this game? There's no way they actually lose to Vanderbilt. Well, then they lose to Vanderbilt. And then during the Tennessee game, it was fourth quarter football game, one score. How are they going to win this game? And you think that going into that last drive, like, Jalen Miller was going to do something special. Something's going to happen. And it never did in either one of those games.
This program's going through a lot of growing pains right now. They had a disciplinary head football coach. The definition of it, it's Belichick and it's Saban for, hey, take a poll. Who's the most hard-ass football coach in the world? Bill Belichick would be 1. Saban will be 1A, depending on which demographic you speak to. They go from that to a much more of a players coach oriented guy, right? Like, he's not going to be jumped down your throat. Just listen to the halftime speeches. And I know that's crazy, but listen to the way he talks to the media. It's very laid back. It's very casual. It's very, we'll be all right. We just got to start making plays, right? And that's not a negative on him. It's just the idea that it's the complete antithesis of Nick Saban. And this is something we addressed a couple weeks ago on this channel. And I said, it's honestly probably for the betterment of this football program long-term, the fact that they did get somebody so drastically different than their football coach or their previous football coach. So there are pros to this, but the cons on this are the blowback when you don't execute what you need to do down in and down out. You don't have the down in and down out discipline to be out here, playing loose or playing confidently or thinking that you're always going to win, even though sometimes you don't do what you need to do to deserve the win.
Yeah, and I feel like that the entire game, it just felt like Alabama's offense was trying to force the issue, or not even force the issue, but just force everything.
What was it, the 19 targets to Ryan Williams? Was that it?
Ooh. Yes. Like against Georgia, I think Ryan Williams finished with 5 receptions for 177 yards or whatever it was. And I feel like that's kind of more his game. And I think that their offense is better when they are spreading the ball around to Kendrick Law, or they're spreading the ball to Prentice, or even Dupree, the tight end. He was a huge factor against Georgia. But that game, it was, let's just take our two special players and we're going to make them beat Tennessee. That's what we're going to try and do on offense.
It very much felt like they were going to just try to lean on the guys to a Tennessee victory, and it ended up biting them in the end. I mean, we saw the Ryan Williams bust on that block on that 4th and 10, which interesting play call, but we can talk about that later. But
I didn't hate it, but I
didn't hate it either.
I mean, what are you supposed to do on 4th and 20?
No, yeah, I didn't hate it. It was it was interesting, especially the fact that it went the way it did. But the thing that's I'm noticing now, and this is obviously exaggerated a lot more because they're losing games now, but the things that made Alabama, they're doing the exact opposite of. And that's fine to do. I understand that Kalen DeBoer is his own guy. But when you're losing the games you shouldn't be losing, I think you have to change. When you've got guys doing jump shots on a 4th and 1 QB sneak, or coaches are walking into the stadium with cigars in their mouth already, I get that might not have an overall effect on the game, and that might not be, a need to change. But it's very bad optics for Kalen DeBoer.
I have a large enough and a diverse enough following on Twitter nowadays that it's not just 100% Georgia fans. So when things like this happen, I like to ask questions like, hey, what do we feel about pregame cigars? And some of their Bama responses were, that's so-and-so. He's undefeated against Tennessee. He can do whatever he wants. And that's fine, but like optically, it's not. And optically, it was something that was obviously something new because I'm on the next round pretty often now, and they're all over my Twitter timeline. And I see the next round who's been covering Alabama football and the state of Alabama football for a long time now and doing a really, really good job of doing so. When they tweet out pregame cigars in all caps with a video of it, it clearly indicates to me that is something that is not par for the course. That is something that was surprising. That is something worth putting out on social media because it's glaring. Like, wow, they're walking into this away stadium basically thinking they've already got it won, and clearly they did not. And like you mentioned, this is stuff that you do if you're consistently down in and down out disciplined and you're great, right? If someone gets in your face and you're down 7, you're confident enough to win and you got the history to back it up, yeah, talk a little shit. But most teams can't do that if they're not 100% down in and down out great.
Yeah, and you said this after the Georgia game that this is the most confident team in college football, and they clearly are conducting themselves that way. But you can't trade confidence.
You got to earn that.
Yeah, well, not even that. You can't trade confidence for discipline. There's a difference between being confident coming in and saying, we believe we're going to win this game, and just being outright undisciplined. And they've kind of crossed that line of being undisciplined, in my opinion.
When my wife and I first started dating, she would tell me there's a difference between being confident and being arrogant, and you're treading that line. Like, this is what we got going on sometimes. There's a difference between what confidence looks like and what unearned arrogance looks like. And sometimes in these football games, they have it. But I have a more wide-scaling football conversation that I want to have. Do we have Epic Pen ready up over there?
Yeah, we do.
All right, and the board is black. Let's go over there and try not to shame Beamer. All right, so I ran in and stumbled into a football conversation yesterday, Kirby, on the Sunday reaction show, and I want to have this on air with everybody right now. And it's the idea that their run scheme at Alabama has drastically changed. Last year, when I felt like even despite the fact that they didn't have a great running back, Washington's run scheme was really, really diverse. I think they had over 150 yards rushing against Oregon last year. It's part of the reason why they won both of those football games, right? They were able to run the football with, what was it, Dylan Johnson as the running back back there, and he was really banged up most of the year. But last year, man, as an offense, they would attach the Y, but they were a real like wide zone heavy football team, right? Out of pistol quite often. And they'd stretch, wait for a crease, and then hit it vertically, all right? And as soon as teams got, the lowdown on all that, what they would do is they'd start whamming. They'd start folding, right? We'd have one guy, that really athletic center that he had transfer over with him, maybe get him out on the edge, and then, we're going to down block, and we're going to pin and pull, and all of a sudden we got guys running on angles, and we got all this fun stuff. I'd see, hey, we're going to wide zone today, but they like to play a shade to the right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pin down, all right, and we're going to get everybody else on their wide zone, and what's that going to do? That's going to get the center up on the mic, all right? So we're a wide zone stretch football team, all right, with a quarterback who's never really ran. It's something we talked about with Kalen DeBoer coming over. It's like, hey, you've got a quarterback now that you're going to have to use his legs. So when we design quarterback run, guys, all right, and we become a read option football team, what does the back have to do now? The back has to offset. All right, so when the back is offset, we're no longer going to be a wide zone football team because the arcs are really, really hard to do. All right, we now got to run flat and with our shoulders perpendicular to the line of scrimmage as opposed to our shoulders square at the line of scrimmage out of an ISO, right? So it is one. All right, we're in pistol. We can take that arc and we can keep our shoulders square and we can run on this angle. All right, we're side saddled now and we go to put the ball into the belly of the back. Now my shoulders are perpendicular to the line of scrimmage and I have to cut off one foot. It's a much different read. It's a much harder read. So we can't really design wide zone concepts and run the quarterback. All right, because we're now in side saddle as opposed to being a pistol football team. All right, and I think what's causing problems for this traditional run game is that Kalen DeBoer's never been really, not from my studying, he's never really been an inside zone football team. He's never been a lean on you run game scheme, right? He's never had to design quarterback run. Now he has. I think we're seeing a lot of growing pains even as an offensive play caller right now, a lot of which I kind of forecasted and saw happening. I just didn't see them causing this many problems in the run game, right? I thought maybe you were going to have some problems processing, and those have shown up, right? But I didn't think we were not going to be able to run conventional run plays with the tailbacks. This past weekend, they were 20 attempts for 60 yards as a running back tandem. Yeah, that's not going to win.
And I think this is kind of the negative blowback of the Jalen Milroe. And it's not against Jalen Milroe, but I don't think Kalen DeBoer necessarily has a full grasp as to how to handle a fully running quarterback. Because, like you said, when you utilize that, you can't have wide zone like that in stretch option.
You can't even stretch the splits either. And like, it's just... So you're going from you're taking a football coach who now has a quarterback that he's never really used, or a style of quarterback rather that he's never really used, and an offensive line that he's never really used, with a run game identity that he's never really had, with a brand new roster and all this stuff. And you can see why there's going to be growing pains. So I say all that to say, like I always have with this eval as a football coach, I think he's going to grow. I think he's eventually going to get better. This is not the best product, despite the fact that it might be his best roster from a pure talent standpoint that he might ever had, because it's filled with Saban football players.
Well, I think, too, it's fair to say that Kalen DeBoer is also in a position that he's never been in his career. Like, all the places that he went to as a coach and that he built up were not places where winning was expected, or winning at a high clip was expected, or even going 11-1 was almost a standard, it felt like, at those places. Washington was not that type of place where he had time to kind of build into his mold of a football team, get his guys in, and then when it felt like you were there to kind of hit your stride, then it was go time. But here, you're walking into a place where it doesn't matter if you're first year, second year, third year, whatever, the standard remains the standard because of what was set before you. So I think he's only going to get better too, because he's only going to get more accustomed to what this place is.
Now, as for the Milroe discussion, I think we are one of the only channels, and again, I don't purview the internet, but tell me, audience, were we one of the only channels that were like, hey, the progressions come from the running game, but this guy still isn't processing reads. He's not cleanly clicking through his reads and making full field progressions. He's not. And he wasn't even when they were waxing Georgia's ass for 12 minutes. I mean, that wasn't full field progression. The Ryan Williams play wasn't full field progression. That was a deep ball, and he's still great at that. He's still as good as he was last year at that. But there's been no 1, 2, here comes number 3. Let's hit him in stride. That's what happened on that Ryan Williams play. That's the second or third read on a deep over. He's wide, butt-ass naked open. We overthrow him by 5 yards. So there just hasn't been very much progression from a quarterback's processing standpoint.
Do you think that maybe because they did lose to Vandy, like all of us, like there's no longer this underlying fear of when Alabama walks into your stadium, or when you walk into Alabama Stadium, like you know what that team is, you know it is represented. It was like, oh.
You talking about the loss of the stigma?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, especially after watching how South Carolina play them and now how Tennessee has, I feel like you're watching teams that are like, we're on equal ground now. Like we're not backing down from you. Like we're not scared of you. We're not scared of what you propose as an offense or anything. That's just kind of sometimes that's how I feel watching them. Of people have kind of eliminated the glasses that maybe you wore originally of when you would play Alabama, or even the underlying fear.
I think it could also be, and I kind of hinted at this last week, and it was the whole reason why I picked Tennessee. I don't know if a Kalen DeBoer coaching staff is necessarily ready for the physicality and the speed of the SEC just yet. And I mean, the 4 games they played in conference-wise, you could say they, with the exception of the first half against Georgia, they've gotten beat. Like they've been beat through, 10 quarters?
First 12 minutes against
Yeah,
Georgia.
14 straight quarters now. You've gotten beat and handled by SEC schools. So I think that's probably where you're going to have to see the biggest adjustment from Kalen DeBoer. And yeah, you probably are right. There's probably not this, oh, God, this is the Saban Bamas that can kill you at any time. Like, that's probably gone. But it comes with the fact that I don't think this staff has them physically ready enough to be in the SEC grinder of a schedule that they're in.
All right, let's talk about Tennessee really quickly. What were you guys' thoughts on Tennessee? I got some real heavy hitter stats later, but I thought it was an impressive win for Heupel and crew.
Tennessee basically did all of the things that I thought were going to be the reasons they were going to lose this game. Of deep shots continued to be an issue. Offense wasn't able to really get anything going early. This is the 3rd week they've been shut out in the first half. 3rd week in a row that they put up a 0 in the first half. I mean, everything was like, yeah, these are the reasons why I picked Alabama to win this game. Yet they still find a way to win. The offense finds some ways to be successful. The defense continued to answer, continued to step up as they have throughout this entire season. And so I just walked away impressed with they're doing all the things where I think they're going to lose, but yet they're still finding ways to win, and they're doing it against really good defenses now.
I'll go ahead and hit it.
Oh.
Listen to this. Oh, you got something?
I was just saying they Dylan Sampson their way into a win.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it was. I know we talk about how they've kind of leaned on him the entire way, but it was clear that he was your shining light in this offense.
I'm going to read some stats that I never thought were capable for an offense like this. Are you ready? Josh Heupel is 15-5 in his last 20 games as a head football coach at Tennessee. He's had a quarterback throw for 300 yards just 3 times in those 20 games. 2 of them, or all 3 of those games, UConn, Vandy, UTC.
This is Vandy
last year. This is bad Vandy, not good Vandy, not Culture King Vandy. This is bad team. Again, 15-5 in his last 20 games as a head football coach. He's had a quarterback throw for 300-plus yards just 3 times. UConn, Vandy, UTC. That means he is, let's see, what's that? 12-5 in the last 20 games with a quarterback not throwing for 300 yards. In an era of college football where everybody's chunking it really, really well, Tennessee is not. And winning football games, by the way, he's 3-1 in his last 4 games. All right, or excuse me. Yeah, 3-1 in his last 4 games, all of which SEC opponents, and he hasn't had a quarterback throw for more than 200 yards.
I mean, I think that this has kind of been the underrated aspect of Tennessee. Of last year they had Jalen Wright, and this year they have Dylan Sampson. Heupel is getting some not just good running backs, not even just like good SEC running backs. These are really, really, really good running backs. Running backs that are able to take the load of an offense and say, if you got to win on my shoulders today, I'm willing to do that. We're going to grind this one out. We're going to find a way to do it. And I think it's been very impressive because as soon as Tennessee had their run in 2022, everybody knew what they were going to be labeled as of, this gimmick passing offense, you can shut down the pass or you can shut down the quarterback, you're going to be fine. And over the last 3 years, it's been proven that that's now the complete opposite of them, in which we knew that of knowing the offense that you had to stop the run first anyways, but now they got some difference makers in there.
If you told me when he was hired that he's going to recruit inside the top 10, he's going to lead the SEC in rushing, or be in the top 2 in the SEC in rushing every single year, and he's going to win 69%, 70% of his football games without quarterback play for the last 2 years, or without good passing play. I shouldn't say good quarterback play because I don't think that the problems this year are Nico. Last year it was Milton, but this year I think it's more around the quarterback than it is the quarterback, even though there's some growth that needs to happen quickly for Nico. But I think it's an impressive coaching job nonetheless.
Yeah, and I think this just kind of pushes back on the idea that Josh Heupel and the Tennessee Volunteers are this high-flying offensive passing scheme where they want to bomb it on you. They were able to do that a lot in 2022 because they had a really good receiving core. They had Hendon Hooker, and they had a very strong run game that allowed them to set that up, so you had to play with heavier boxes. But I think that's kind of what Tennessee's always wanted to be, though. It's this run team that forces you to stack the box, and then that's when they take advantage of it. Then that's where the passing stats come from. So it doesn't necessarily shock me this much that they haven't had that many quarterbacks go over 300 yards in a game. The 200 yards is impressive. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
You almost need a 200-yard passing game out of your quarterback to have a guaranteed win in the SEC nowadays. So that is impressive. But, I mean, it's honestly not that shocking to me that Tennessee quarterbacks haven't been lighting the world on fire. Because that's not their goal. If they do, it's great. And if they're able to do that, cha-ching, you've got a very scary offense. But
So if they can hit their deep shots, they're the best offense in college football, because that's what they did in 2022.
yeah,
They hit their deep shots consistently.
yeah. And if they
And
can,
they led the nation in yards per game. Every statistical category there was. Explosives, points per game, yards, passing, rushing, all of it.
and if they can protect their quarterbacks,
Yes.
so
They
you
would-
can hit your
Goes
deep
hand in
shots.
hand.
They would be what 4 weeks ago people were saying Bama was going to be this season. Of this team, this offense is explosive. They're running the ball well because of what they have in number 4. The only difference is it's a running back doing it. If Tennessee was hitting their deep shots, they would be that offense.
All right, let's move the ball a little bit. Miami, speaking of moving it. I mean, they couldn't stop a nosebleed. Miami haters stand up. They squeaked another one. I ain't here for it. I'm rooting for the downfall. Who's going to get them? Nobody. The rest of the schedule
I really
is
thought this was the
dog
week, man.
shit.
No,
The
they're
rest
going
of
to
the
lose.
schedule
They're
is
going to lose
dog
a game.
Shit.
They're going to lose a game.
Against who? Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake, or Syracuse?
Yes, one
Sorry,
of those.
Fran.
Yes, one of those teams.
Ain't it?
I didn't mean to say it with that tone. That's why I said sorry, Fran.
The one you said with the most disgrace got the best chance.
Yeah, you're right. The Q's going to get them.
But that'd
it
be
ain't
the
gonna
best
matter.
chance.
They're 11-1 going into the ACC championship game either way.
Because Duke might be the worst 6-1 football team in college football right now.
Yeah,
Dookie.
it's not great.
I don't know how they keep doing it, but they keep doing it anyways. This is a team that nearly lost to UConn. So
They can't keep getting away with it.
yeah, to me again, going into this matchup, I said everything's too perfect. Everybody's saying that this is going to be the best chance, so they're going to say that it is going to be an upset. But as much as you want to hate on Miami, and look, I have the hatred there for it too. You cheat two teams out of a win against you. You're automatically on the list for me. But they're a good team in the sense that they're winning games. The only thing about Miami that I will say is, it's fine and great that you can keep doing this against the ACC, and it's great that Cam Ward is playing great quarterback play.
Shit ain't
Your
gonna
defense
fly,
is
bud.
not getting stops. Your defense isn't playing great football. That tends to lead to a team that gets blown out in the playoffs. So or even a game against Clemson in the ACC championship. So great now that you can do it. You might go 12-0, but you better be ready for the ultimate downfall of it or the ultimate collapse of it.
I repeat this stat from yesterday because it is a phenomenal stat. Miami allowed 7 different Louisville players to have at least one play of 20-plus yards.
And they
7?
won the damn
7.
game.
And they won.
Disgusting. I can't believe it.
7.
Fun game, though. I mean,
It was.
Look,
it was electric.
look, I love to hate on Miami and for valid reasons, but Cam Ward looked really, really good in this game. I talked about I don't think he's an NFL quarterback, but he's a damn good college one. So I'll give them the flowers where they deserve it, but the loss is still incoming for them. The heck still is on.
I didn't know Brian Kelly was capable of domination in a week like that.
Ooh. I
Right?
was so wrong about this.
Yeah, I think everyone was. I think everyone expected Brian Kelly to lay a damn egg
Yes.
because they had too big of a win last week against Ole Miss.
Mhm.
They go to Arkansas, and they put belt to ass for 4 quarters.
They did. I didn't expect them to lose. I thought that they would win because I still think it's a good team. And I said Brian Kelly's a good coach, regardless of what anything you want to say about him and the games that he does lose or how he maybe loses a game that he shouldn't or maybe he's not elite. But he is a good coach, and good coaches find a way to win these types of football games. And that's exactly what he did. There's a reason why they are undefeated in conference play right now.
Look, man, it's one thing to win 10 games a year at Notre Dame when you got to get up twice a year for your schedule. It's a whole other one to win these types of games in the SEC. It's a whole another animal to come out here and consistently show up week in, week out.
And I think I wrote off LSU for kind of what they did in the first quarter of the 2024 season, where lost to a USC team that retrospectively doesn't look very good, had a bad start against South Carolina, had to come crawling back against them, struggled against UCLA at home. Like, they just didn't look like a very good football team, but they have turned it around now, and somehow they're undefeated in conference. So, I mean, LSU's legit now. I have to take them seriously and honestly. So, Good for LSU. And honestly, props to Brian Kelly for putting in a win like that because that game had trap written all over it for me.
And good on LSU for winning this game so that we do get what LSU versus Texas A&M is going to be this weekend. You get a team, you get the 2 undefeated, someone's leaving with a loss, and the person who leaves with a win is going to be in the driver's seat of the SEC. So good on Brian Kelly for delivering and giving us college football fans the game that we all deserve.
Shout out Brian Kelly being a member of the family here on this channel.
Amen.
I just had Georgia could win out and still not make the SEC championship.
Because of LSU and A&M?
Yeah.
And that's it, right?
It would be
they're the 2 top teams in the SEC right now per record.
Right, but if they win out,
Because
obviously
neither of them have an SEC loss.
Right, but one of them's going to have one SEC loss, but then if they win
Head-to-head.
out.
Yeah.
Yep.
That
Would be something.
That would be crazy. Anyways.
It's an interesting way to look at it. Definitely didn't come to my purview right there, or my mind. Shout out to those guys. Shout out to Brian Kelly. Shout out to Whit Weeks. I ain't missed so hard on a linebacker in a minute.
Yeah, he had a good game.
I wonder why I did that. Why I was doubting the man Whit Weeks.
It's got a good football name. That should have been first indicator.
Yeah, probably. That's on me. Sorry, Whit. Again. Any more thoughts on LSU Arkansas? I'm good.
Does this change your opinion on Sam Pittman at all, or is that kind of just
Nah.
you ran into
Sam Pittman kept his job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sam Pittman kept his job. We're good. We're good on that one. PU Mizzou? Who wrote that one?
Yeah, I'm interested to hear why
You had to
PU
come crawling back against Auburn.
The starting quarterback's out.
I get it, but
that's where I thought you were going of PU. Man, that backup quarterback was bad.
Boy, he was.
he
shit,
was.
wasn't he?
And he
that
was
was also
You know
very
what?
bad.
You know what? That's even worse on Missouri fan base because, I'm pretty sure Eli Drinkwitz had to come to the microphone earlier in the year and be like, hey, Brady Cook's our guy. Will y'all stop? Will y'all stop with this? And they kept wanting it. They kept wanting it. You see the backup and you're like, ugh, put that back in the cupboard. We don't want to see that no more.
And this is exactly why I loved this football game because especially once you found out the storyline of how it all unfolded, Brady Cook's out of the game, got to put the backup in. It was all lost for Missouri. If Brady Cook doesn't come back, you're screwed. Brady Cook not expected to come back in. Auburn's just kind of fighting. Missouri can't get anything going on offense. Looks like Auburn and Hugh Freeze are going to do it. They're going to get a win. They're going to pull off the upset. Brady Cook comes back in, leads them to the game-winning drive, ultimately wins the football game, and you find out he went to the hospital in the middle of the game to get an MRI, says, I'm not sitting out on this one. I got 2.5 games left in the stadium, comes back, gets back in the football game, and wins the game. That's what college football is about. That was electric to me.
Hey, Brady Cook, give him 3. Didn't Eli Drinkwitz do something this weekend?
Yeah, he gave his team bowl-bound shirts.
Oh. Yes.
For a team that people were saying, college football playoff, got to 6 wins, boys. We're going bowling.
hold down after you scratched and clawed to beat an Auburn team that is 2-6 on the year now.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man.
Disgusting.
Keep those in the cardboard boxes.
You
Don't
know
even print them. Don't even print those.
Send those to Kenya. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's donate those.
Good
Yeah.
idea.
Let's donate those. We
Good
don't
idea.
need to be spending school money on T-shirts that say bowl bound when we're expecting to be a college football playoff.
Yeah, man. Like,
good.
that's-
When an unnamed booster donates $62 million to your football program, bowl eligibility cannot be the bare minimum.
no.
Or the expectations. No.
You got a super
Absolutely
sub
not.
earlier, by the way.
Yeah, I'm seeing this. I was going to save it because it is local. It's got 2 questions. One, Stark is now 2 for 14 against teams, or Sark. I think I'm supposed to say Sark. Sark is now 2 and 14 against teams that score 30. Shout out to the boy Kirby for that stat. Number 2, Texas is actually a good defense despite Georgia's drops and picks. Question 3, even if Beck improves a little, is it enough to win a natty? A lot of questions there from JD the guitarist. Also for the feet, says John Sanford's rather, for a $20 super sub. Appreciate that right there. Let's answer some of these questions. The Sark stat, dynamite right there for you. One of those wins was a 72-30 win over Texas Tech, so it doesn't even count.
Right.
And the other one I can't remember off
The other
top
one
of my
was an
head.
overtime I think it was Kansas State.
Overtime doesn't count. You got
33-30.
You got extra time to get into that 30 range. You score 30 on these guys in regulation and they're not up by 40 points, you're winning the football game.
Yeah.
Period. So that was a tremendous stat by you going in this football game. As soon as they hit it, did you tweet it?
I did.
Attaboy.
Attaboy.
That's the way to do it. Did you go viral?
Semi.
Hey, the channel's got to do the super subs and all the subscribers. Y'all got to do a better job of following the man Kirby. Give that Twitter handle out, Kirby_24K.
That's it.
Kirby_24K on the man's right there. Go follow him on Twitter. I think you're not even at 1,000 yet. We got to step some shit up on that.
Pump those babies up.
You got to have rookie numbers. You got to pump them babies up, man. So go follow the man over on social. He's got some great stuff, and he's no longer an artist. He's a take artist.
Oh, thanks, man.
Love it. Number 3, even if Beck improves a little, is it enough to win a natty? Yeah, I mean, your roster's plenty good right now to win a natty. We saw that this weekend.
Yeah, you just beat the number 1 team in the country on the road.
With 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
By 2 scores.
And the 2 interceptions, the first interception in the first half, I think that was a great play by Makuba.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think there's any way to put that on the quarterback other than
don't throw that ball.
Don't throw that ball and have premonitions to not throw that ball.
And I hate that we're going to – this is kind of still local hour stuff that we're diving into, but those are the throws that we've been kind of saying, hey, Beck, rip it.
Yeah.
Like, rip it, dude. You can make that throw.
Yeah, I'm not gonna criticize the dude for doing something I've asked him to do. You know, put the ball at risk a couple times, rip the string because you got it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. The second interception to Lucky, I explained why, right? If you want to know, go watch the film study. And everyone watching this right now probably already has. You guys are the OGs to this channel. So there's no doubt you guys are going to be over there hammering the film study. So I already know you've watched it. But they're explainable every single week. And the one errant throw to London Humphreys, it's like, dude, why are you moving inside towards help or towards defenders? You need to be working back out where the quarterback threw the ball. So there's a lot of that going on. And I love that Kirby does, like when Kirby does it, sometimes it is coach speak. But when after Saturday night after the game, when he's asked about his quarterback's performance and there's questions and the question is like, he didn't play very good. Kirby stops immediately and is like, well, first of all, that's your opinion because I thought my quarterback played great tonight. I thought my quarterback did everything he needed to do to win this football game, basically was his answer. And honestly, I thought he played pretty well as well. Could have played better, but I thought he played well.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the mantra on that.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to our next football game, which is Army-Navy.
They keep winning, dude.
Shout out to the
The
servicemen.
troops are doing it, man.
In disrespectful fashion as well.
Good.
Navy opened the game with a double reverse deep shot.
Good, dude. You know, honestly, for however long,
Army cost a man a job.
got him fired, eliminated,
Yeah.
neutralized. But no, however long we've always joked about, oh, the service academies, I can't wait to watch 3 passes in a football game. Good for them for coming out and running these double reverses and all these kind of trick plays to throw the ball through the air and just beating the shit out of teams now. So honestly, I hope that they're both playoff contenders come the end of the regular season.
I don't really have much on this.
You
Go
don't have much
Troops,
on this.
though, baby. Even though
Go
I doubted
Troops.
you.
Yeah,
I'll go
dude,
ahead.
J-Will hates the troops, man.
Yeah, Army
Whoa.
Whoa.
Hey, now we got non-context accounts over here, like clipping things. Don't be putting those
careful.
allegations out there, right?
careful.
Sorry, man.
Be
You're right.
careful. Yeah, Army got a coach fired. Mike Houston out at Eastern Carolina. And Navy, like I said, opened the game double reverse pass for a tud. Just going for jugulars out here on Maine.
As you should. I mean, Northern Illinois has spoiled an opportunity this year. If you upset at Notre Dame, and now I think they're 2-4 or something like that. Army and Navy are doing it the right way. Of we're undefeated. Let's just go balls to the wall and do everything and we possibly can to make sure this happens.
I want to see
Defending your
this
freedoms
option.
and destroying your jobs. That
One
should
more
be-
time on that one.
Defending your freedoms and destroying your jobs.
I can't wait to see one of these option teams play a team with speed.
No.
Because team
Don't wish
speed,
that
team
upon them.
speed
No, dude.
ruins the option. The option got cut. Never mind. The option can't work against fast teams, is what I was going to say.
Don't wish that upon them, dude.
I'll tell you that joke post game. You might think it's funny, but agree that I probably should have held back on that one. Yeah, shout out to the servicemen. Shout out to South Carolina. Shout out to South Carolina. If South Carolina could figure out which version of their football
Good
team they're
South
going to
Carolina
be,
and
good
bad
South
South
Carolina,
Carolina.
bad South Carolina. What was it? Who was the SEC shorts got
Yeah.
him this week?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, can you figure out how this guy can
Get him outta
die?
here.
Get him out of here. Get rid of this dude. Bad South Carolina, real bad.
Very ugly.
Good South Carolina, got a chance. Got a chance.
To do what?
I play close football games against good football teams, and they got a lot of good football teams left on their schedule.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this. They got a gruesome one to finish.
They'll spoil a couple more seasons for it.
Yeah, they got Mizzou, Bama,
No, they already
and
played
Texas.
Bama.
Well, Mizzou, Texas A&M, and one other really, really good opponent on the schedule.
LSU.
They've already played LSU.
No, they already played LSU.
That's right.
Clemson.
Clemson.
Ooh,
That's who they have to play.
the Tigres.
But, and this is what I said, might be the best unranked team in college football right now. Or let me put it this way, definitely the most dangerous, definitely the team that if you are Clemson, if you are Texas A&M, if they're coming up on your schedule, you don't want them on your schedule right now because they can do this. Their defense can do this. And Oklahoma outgained South Carolina offensively. They had more first downs than South Carolina did offensively. The difference was Oklahoma turned it over 4 times. South Carolina didn't turn it over a single time. Turnovers has been something this offense has struggled with. And if South Carolina is protecting the football, I would take them over a lot of teams right now. If they can play clean football offensively, I would take them over a lot of football teams.
Pretty gross offensive performance from Oklahoma, huh?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been
first
it's
3
been
possessions
rough
were
these
just
last
as
2 weeks.
if you could draw up the most disastrous opening to a football game, that's it.
Top 5 worst offensive performances that I've ever seen. You ready? Number 5, any Bo Nix game versus Georgia.
Ooh,
Real bad football. Number 4,
he played well
any
his freshman year, didn't he?
huh?
He played pretty well his freshman year, didn't he?
Second half. They threw it like 40 times, played with some pace, crawled back into that one. Trayvon Walker sacked to finish the game.
Yep.
Tyreek Stevenson, greatest game I've seen from a star at Georgia. Number 4, any Iowa game in the last 5 years, not including this year.
Very
So
true.
basically the Brian Ferentz era. Number 3, Cumberland versus Georgia Tech had negative 78 yards in a game in which they lost 221-0.
Pretty rough.
Pretty rough. Number 2, TCU national championship game. That was some dog shit.
Had a
Number
good
1.
drive though.
Huh?
Good
Yeah,
drive.
a singular drive, not bad. Busted coverage got to him. Number 1, Oklahoma this weekend. That was bad. That was bad. You give the opponent a pick 6 and the ball at the 2 twice, you are trash.
It's been a rough 2 weeks for Brett Venables, and it's
Fireable
yeah,
for the coordinator at least.
right. And honestly, like here's the weird roundabout thing of it. You want to be mad at Brett Venables, and then you say, well, anytime a quarterback turns the ball over as many times, or as many times as your offense is going to be, you're going to have games like this. And then you circle right back to, well, the quarterback situation is what it is because of the decisions he made coming into the offseason. So
Yep.
it's tough, man.
Just got a notey. They're going back to Jackson Arnold this weekend.
I was about to say, you put Jackson Arnold back in, and I guess it got a little bit better, but it didn't get drastically better for you in that game. I mean, still, wide receiver room is still very banged up. You still miss a lot of guys in that room as well. Plus, they got rid of their offensive coordinator. So things are changing, I guess, or they're trying to do anything and everything they can to try and get it going in the right direction, because these next 5 games or whatever it is for you are going to be very crucial for you moving forward.
Big-time football games coming up for this football team. Future headlines that sound crazy but could be / are real. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review. What do you got for me?
Yeah, so the first one
Explain this a
So
little bit
this
further,
is kind
Brian.
of a segment I was thinking of. Like, there's a lot of things happening in college football where it's like, if you read this in week 1, you said, there's no way that's happening. And now we're getting to a point where it's looking like it'll happen. For example, Army and Notre Dame face off in a game that has massive playoff implications. That's crazy.
That's insane.
That's an insane headline, and it's honestly kind of true.
Vanderbilt. Oh, my God. Hold on.
Whoa.
Hold on. Did that just happen?
Yeah.
I think he clicked too many 9s.
Buddy, I'm not sending you a refund. I'm just kidding. I'm going to hit this right now. Alpha Zulu, $300 super chat. This is by far a record on this channel. I'm a proud Texas fan. I watch this channel because I like your football analysis. I love to talk ball. Texas was outclassed in parts of the game this weekend. Hats off to Georgia. Great at preparation and execution. We will learn from the loss. We are not done. Alpha Zulu, give them 300.
Yeah.
I mean, my God,
That's
dude.
insane.
Wow.
That's love.
Whew.
That's love.
Definitely clicked too many 9s.
I do, yeah, definitely. I do want to talk about this real quick though, because guys, it's happening. It's happening. We're going to other fan bases' homes and we're walking around campus and we're getting recognized by the opponent's fan bases.
Pretty cool.
For something that we do on this channel that was once just called a small little fan blog, whatever you want to call it. And now, through a lot of hard work and a lot of belief in ourselves, it's happening, and I'm so happy. I mean, I'm so happy. And it's definitely earned and warranted. But man, Alpha Zulu, Jesus, man, thank you. Respect to that.
You were reading the Vanderbilt.
Hmm?
You were reading your Vanderbilt headline. That was the last thing.
Yeah, Vandy beat Bama and then had a 10-point win against Ball State at home as a ranked opponent and has a chance to win out and go to the SEC championship game.
I saw Diego Pavia getting floated around in the Heisman talk.
Yeah,
No. Let's calm down.
This is wild.
That's
a bit
a little
much.
crazy.
No.
Here's one that is crazy though.
Yeah.
The Texas Longhorns look to end ranked Vanderbilt's home win streak in their first SEC road matchup. If I'd have read you that in week 1, I'd have gotten laughed at, honestly.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt undefeated at home, ranked.
I still just laughed at you,
Yeah,
even though it's true.
It's insane.
Chad said Alpha Zulu just blew his ticket budget because he got banned for throwing beer. That's not funny.
The G5 bid for the college football playoff is a top 10 seed.
Ooh.
You tell me Boise State wins out, only losses to potentially number 1 Oregon. You tell me that's a 12 seed?
Yeah.
Can't be.
No, I mean, that's true.
Yeah. That's elite.
Damn, I didn't even think about that one, J-Will.
Because we're going to have a bunch of 10 and 2s trying to get into this college football playoff as a 11, 12, whatever seed. Is that possible? Is it? I thought it was automatically ranked, or is it just?
I think people just
ranked?
assumed.
It's just highest ranked.
Yeah, it's just
non-power
highest
5.
ranked. Which
So you're right.
they're at 17 now. They continue to win out. They could easily keep on creeping up. But
Man, I'd be pissed if I was that 5 seed thinking I was going to get Boise State. You know what I mean?
I don't know. You
Thinking
might,
I was going to
you
get
might be
Boise
happy.
State. Next thing I know, Tennessee's rolling into town. Ugh.
Because maybe Boise State's whole plan is, all right, we're not going to give Ashton Genty 30 totes a game, but that playoff game we get, we're giving them 50, and you're getting nothing but Ashton Genty. So you're going to be a beat-up football team even if you do beat them.
Good Lord.
Still can't get over that super chat. That was insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Cody McCormick, I haven't missed your super chat. It is a local hour related one, and I'm going to circle back on it. I have all of them right now. Did you know that YouTube allows you to just circle fan funding? So you can just look at the guys who have super chatted during the show. So that makes things a lot easier for me. But all right, let's move on or continue with these future headlines. My bad. Go ahead.
Here's one that I don't think anyone would have suspected coming into this year, and it's a possible headline. Florida State upsets Florida in rivalry week. With the utter disaster that has been Florida State season, I mean, Florida hasn't had a really great one either, but people were kind of high on Florida State coming in. Florida's kind of had a decent enough season. It's kind of been what we expected to, but the fact that Florida State could, quote-unquote, upset Florida at the end of the year after being ranked in the top 10 is insane to me.
I don't have any more. I'm grading yours. That's an A+.
Thank you.
Heisman finalists set. Ashton Genty, Dylan Gabriel, Kyle McCord, Cade Klubnik.
Oh, shit.
The first two make sense. Kyle McCord and Cade Klubnik sneaking in there is like, what are you doing here?
I would have been
Who
shocked.
do you know here?
That'd been crazy. after
Clemson wins
week
the ACC. Syracuse. I mean, Kyle McCord put up numbers. I mean, numerous. So I mean, if they only continue with one loss, I'm just saying. His name's getting thrown out there.
The guy that was on the hook for about 300 racks for Will Howard, watching Kyle McCord doing what he's doing. What do you think he's thinking about? Victoria's Secret CEO that's got hundreds of millions of dollars that had to get on the hook for that Will Howard money. You think he's feeling great about that?
I don't know. Probably not great.
Should we question Ryan Day, the quarterback developer? I'm just kidding.
Oh, I don't know
Just
about
kidding.
that one.
But, man, watching Kyle McCord go from this guy is terrible, he is the reason Ohio State's not going to win a title, to holy crap, Kyle McCord, with much less talent around him, is balling.
Yeah, and I think that the narrative around Kyle McCord is sort of unfair. He wasn't a bad quarterback. He wasn't a elite game-winning, gonna go down. He was a game manager. And I think that kind of coming from a program that's used to seeing C.J. Stroud, Justin Fields, Wayne Haskins, all the above, kind of in comparison, yeah, you're going to say he's bad.
Got any more?
I got one more, and this one's just as wild to me. Indiana secures a Big Ten championship appearance.
I was going to. I'll up it even more right now.
Let's hear
The
it.
stage is set. Indiana versus Penn State Big Ten championship.
Oh, God, that's crazy.
Talk naughty to me right now.
Hey.
The viewership number on that, I think it's going to be in the poop.
Honestly, no, it might be higher.
You think?
Well, it's not going to be, all right, well,
It
let's
can't
see.
be worse than Michigan, Iowa last year.
CBS is just absolutely punching the air.
Yeah,
out
Oh,
of
it's
that.
not
Gary,
gonna-
I'm sorry, buddy.
It's not going to be
Friend
like,
of the show.
We gave up the SEC for this?
yeah, but I mean, it's not going to be, all right, let's see who Michigan or Ohio State crucifies this week. It'll actually be like,
true.
oh, it's two teams that we haven't seen before that are kind of fun to watch, so, or a fun story at least. But yeah,
Tough.
that was all I had.
Yeah, that was my final one as well.
All right, where we were right, where we were wrong. I'll start. I was wrong. I thought Alabama's problems were a lot easierly fixed in the midst of a season than Tennessee's, and Tennessee didn't fix their problems. Bama's showed themselves way worse, way worse than Tennessee's.
Yeah, and I'll go and say I was right about that. I question the ability of Kalen DeBoer's staff to kind of come in and deal with these SEC toughness schedules, and it's proven that it's a grinder right now for them, and they're not really up for it, it seems. I mean, 14 quarters now where you've essentially lost, so not a good look.
Man, I was right about those Georgia Southern Eagles. I tried to tell you, James Madison. I tried to tell you. Coming off big win against Marshall, come from behind victory, and you had the audacity to put them as like a 9-point underdog to James Madison. Man, I was so right about that.
Damn, I was wrong about the fighting Wildcats at Martin Stadium, 23-3. Ugliness against Wisconsin.
Yeah, I was dead wrong about Iowa's offense. I thought that they had turned the corner. Nope, 20 points and a loss to Michigan State. Disgusting. Disgusting.
Yeah.
Horrible.
What the hell happened to Rutgers?
I
I don't know. Kind of just they lost to Wisconsin. They would whoop.
Weird.
Yeah, just falling off. It makes me sad.
Mm-hmm.
Feel for my guy, Morning Guy.
I was wrong. I thought LSU was going to get caught lacking. We've already talked about that. I was
very much wrong about that too.
I was certainly right about the biggest game of the weekend. Nailed it. Schemes don't beat Georgia. Players do. You got to be a very special player to beat that football team. I mean, history shows you, even to get close, even to score a lot of points like C.J. Stroud did, you have to be the best player on the field.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah. I was right about the magic number being 30. I think we all kind of came into this game saying if Georgia wants to win, it's going to have to be a shootout. You're going to have to put up points in this game. Realistically, all you really need to do was hit 30, and Sark teams have not been able to handle teams that score 30 against them, and this was
I think my
different.
final score prediction was 38-35. I think we're all in the mid
Yeah,
to upper.
I
said
said
30 at
41-31.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a higher scoring game than that, and proved to not need to be.
I was right about Illinois +4 being way too easy of making some money. I mean, +4 against a Michigan team that is still trying to figure it out at quarterback. Every single week, we don't know who's going to start. We don't know who we're throwing out there. And it was at Illinois. I know they had them ugly uniforms on, absolutely hideous uniforms.
Go ahead.
I want to give a hot take on that. They didn't look horrible on the field.
They looked horrible at game day when they brought that dummy.
Yeah,
they did look.
yeah, they did.
They did look bad, but on the field, I didn't hate them.
They're horrible.
I think you're a straw man here.
They're horrible.
I didn't hate them.
Let's take a poll in the chat.
I
Did
think-
you hate the Illinois jersey?
I think the worst part about it was they had that and the leather helmets, like the brown leather, contrasting with their field, the big orange eye in them. That looked weird.
Well, I think trying to do the leather helmet on a real helmet was just a bad decision.
Yeah, just man up and wear the leather ones. Oh, man, good times. Seriously, softening of America.
Nah, they got that dub. They ain't soft.
You're right.
Facts.
You're right.
I was wrong about Indiana.
Mm.
I didn't think they would beat Nebraska that bad. I
That
thought,
was
honestly, that would have been a very interesting game. I think I even
was
said that's
really
kind of a
bad.
sleeper game to be aware of. Indiana just did whatever they wanted to Nebraska. That made me feel sorry for them almost.
All right, so apparently chat with you on this. Chat with you on this with the unis. The Leatherheads went hard.
All right, chat.
Guys.
Hell yeah.
Okay, chat. Okay, chat.
I was so ready to die on them and be like, yeah, you know what? Everyone can shit on me for this opinion, but I didn't hate him. It's nice to know the silent majority speaking
Come
up a
on,
little bit.
guys. That's just not it. They just ain't.
York's hurt for the next couple of weeks. You think this is going to be a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It might. Who do they got in game day this week?
Washington.
I don't know if they're going to get him.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's going to be back for Ohio State in 2 weeks.
I think they are, because they already ruled him out this week, didn't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was it lower body?
I think so.
No, it's his thumb.
Oh, yeah,
It's his
that's
thumb.
what it is.
That's what it is. Thumb on the throwing hand. It'll be interesting. Any more rights, wrongs?
I was very, very, very wrong about Oklahoma's defense being able to defense their way to a win this weekend because
opposite.
I did not think that their offense was just going to completely collapse that bad because I knew the offense. And, I should have known better than to be like, the defense is going to figure out a way to do it because they've been doing it this season. You can't do that too many times because the offense is going to eventually bite you in the butt and do that to you.
Yeah. I was right that Arch Manning would play in this game. I was wrong. I thought that when he played, he would just take over that spot and keep it there, but he only played 2 drives. Very interesting decision we can talk about that in the local hour.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in the local hour because the timing of it was a little bit weird.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing was very weird, as was the fake news story today of him potentially opting out and going to the NFL draft and 24/7 biting on that. It was just weird. The whole thing's weird. All right, should we move on to top 5 wins?
Let's do it.
Top 5 wins of the college football season so far. Number 5, Bama over Georgia.
Yep.
But they've shit that one away. So that's why it's number 5. I think it's the biggest and most keynote win of the season, but you absolutely spoiled it over the last 3 or 4 weeks at Alabama. Vandy beating Bama is number 4 for me. Number 3, Georgia beating the absolute doggy doo-doo out of Clemson to start the season. Looks very, very good right about now. Oregon beating Ohio State at home is a big win, but Georgia beating Texas on the road is far better in the way in which they did it.
Yeah, I think we all collectively are going to put Georgia over Texas as the number 1 spot.
I actually had Oregon versus Ohio State.
Why?
I just feel like that instantly puts Oregon in a much better position right now. You're undefeated. Really not too much left on your schedule. So I just thought that especially how that game unfolded and like the last few minutes, Dan Lanning, the decisions he made, I felt like that was a much bigger win, especially for that program because you needed that win. Like we talked about it, like Dan Lanning is searching for one of these wins. And he got one.
Yeah, from a program standpoint, I think it's definitely bigger. But on a resume, I would say that the Georgia going on the road to the number 1 team and beating them by 2 scores probably stacks up a little bit. But I do agree with what you're saying, where that was a win that if you look back in 5 years after Oregon's won national titles, after they've had multiple playoff appearances, you can say that was the win that kind of turned things around for Oregon and Dan Lanning. So I agree with what you're saying there. I had Georgia versus Clemson at number 5.
I did as well.
Just because it's a great win. It gets better by the week the better Clemson plays. But it was also, you kind of had your questions raised about Georgia's offense in the first half. They still haven't necessarily gotten answered. Clemson, I think we all agree that if you come back and play that game again, it's probably not that dominating. Still a great win, though. Also a neutral site win, so not as incredible, I think. Number 4, I went Bama versus Georgia. I know that Bama has done a lot to kind of piss away the shine of that win with the last 3 games they've had, but that's still a top 5 team. That's still, you beat them. You still put up 41 points against a Kirby Smart defense. Regardless of what you've done the other points in the season, that's a top 5 win in my opinion. Number 3, I went Notre Dame on the road at Texas A&M. I know it's weird. I know that it's not necessarily a big win, but to go in there against a Texas A&M team that looks more and more like a playoff team might end up being the only loss Texas A&M suffers this season. That's a big win for Notre Dame, and it's kind of what's keeping their playoff hopes alive with the fact that you've lost to Northern Illinois. So they have that, and that's a really good win. And I think if you take that away from Notre Dame, they're not a playoff team right now. Number 2, I have Oregon versus Ohio State for the reasons we talked about. It was a top 5 matchup. It was legendary. You came out on top with that. Could be a program-defining win for Dan Lanning. And then number 1 is obviously Georgia at Texas.
Yeah, I had Georgia Clemson number 5. I had Vandy versus Bama at number 4. I mean, you want to talk about big wins. That is it. When you get the biggest win in program history, that deserves to be on the list, in my opinion, so I'm putting Vanderbilt over Bama. But then I have Alabama over Georgia at number 3 because without that win right now, I mean, you wouldn't be searching for the playoffs anymore. So the fact that you have that win, that's the only reason why you are even in the hunt still for a playoff spot, because you have that win over Georgia. Number 2, Georgia versus Texas. Number 1, Oregon versus Ohio State.
Yeah, I guess I did sleep on that Notre Dame win at Texas A&M just because
I contemplated it. Yeah.
I'm anti-Notre Dame deep state. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but like that is the signature win for Notre Dame right now. And the fact that it was on the road against a team that very well could end up being in the SEC championship here. Like Texas A&M is undefeated in conference. They had a very big win against Missouri. So I think that's a better. Oh, he's got the Golden Dome out, dude.
The real Golden Dome. You know what I'm saying? None of that fancy shit. We got 24 karat gold bull crap. The real Golden Dome right here. This is what they look like. Go hats up. This is what they look like. All that fancy sparkling. We put 24 karat stuff. Be a real man. Notre Dame's for the rich football players. We're not rich around here.
Interesting. Felt like weird time to take such a shot at the Notre Dame helmet.
I just don't like the gold flaky stuff.
You don't like the sparkle?
You don't like how it glitters?
Actually,
Glistens.
I wish we would have had 24 karat gold. That gold looks kind of matte.
Yeah, it looks. It's almost like a beige.
Huh?
It's almost like a beige.
If you weren't stealing your football helmets as a senior, you weren't doing it right.
Oh, you stole that one?
Oh, both of them. Had to. They're mine. I'm dead. It's all me.
Yeah.
Did we just lose Wi-Fi? I hope not.
Did we?
We're still going over here.
Something went wrong on my YouTube. We're good
okay.
there. But nah, man. Anti Notre Dame deep state, stand up. We don't like them folks.
Yeah, sure.
Feel good to get that off your chest?
You feel
Yeah.
better now?
Yeah.
Good. I'm happy for you.
I think we have a whole nother hour.
We do?
Do we have
A whole nother hour?
A whole nother hour?
Man.
Is that what we have?
And we get to talk about like the biggest game of the weekend?
Yeah, well, like we went a whole hour talking college football and didn't really talk about Georgia, Texas.
Oh, ooh, man. I think we should get into that hour.
I think we should. Hey, we have a whole nother hour coming up right now. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back in for another fabulous hour here on the Film Guy Network. We got a loaded one for you. Georgia and Texas reaction. We'll give you some insight from our trip to Austin as well. How dominant was this win? What surprised you most about this football game? 3 takeaways. We're going to give away game balls, and we're going to give a special shout out to Jalen Walker as well. But first and foremost, I want to ask you guys to go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. If you are new to our network, it's the first time watching us tonight, please be sure to subscribe to this network as well. We do it as well or better than anybody else in the college football space on the internet. I truly believe that, as do the numbers, and the retention rates show that as well. I also want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at BetUS, as you see in the upper right-hand corner. If you have not already checked out BetUS, please feel free to do so with the link in our description of this video today. Guys, it is the time to be over there. They're giving a 150% deposit match on up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 using promo code YouTube150. Again, that's promo code YouTube150 over there with BetUS. A tremendous time to be over there. If you're looking for a new book, man, that's the book to be on. Easy and fast withdrawal deposit, the fastest in the industry. Head over there and support those who support us. Boys, where do you want to start? Just general reaction?
Yeah, we can do it.
Let's do it.
You also want to hit these super
Let's do all this. Let's knock these super subs out real quick, okay? Let's go to fan funding over here. Let's try to go in order, starting with Cody McCormick. I genuinely believe that Beck's struggles and indecisiveness come from a lack of trust in his receivers. Thoughts? Yes, to an extent, okay? The drops, Kirby talked about this, dropping footballs will really sometimes mess with the mental fortitude of a quarterback, because it's like, man, I'm doing everything right and we can't get it.
I would compare it to a pitcher on the mound that knows his infielders or outfielders are not making defensive plays. Like, it adds a whole lot more to the weight on your shoulders when you know anything in play, it might fall back on me.
Or and to continue that comparison, no different than when like a pitcher's getting squeezed by the umpire back there. Like, he might be pressing to be perfect on locations, and this is what happens as a quarterback when guys are dropping balls. Man, I press. I would imagine you press as a quarterback. So yeah, man, lack of trust is a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, you always hear the iconic stories about guys like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, sending guys off the field in games after they drop the ball. Like, you can't go back to that guy. Problem is with Georgia, their receiver rotation's small already. So it's not like if one guy drops the ball, it's like, okay, we're not going to go back to you. You have to keep relying on them. So that absolutely plays with your confidence.
Justin Farmer just wanted to get a takeoff. Ellis Williams and Ethan Barbour, future studs. Yeah, I would agree.
Would look like that.
Really good football players.
There.
Excited to see how they use both of them. Austin says, do y'all think Etienne could be the most valuable skill player on the offense right now based on how he's played, or is it still Beck because of how we know he can spin and play the football, or spin the football and play? I'm going to say Etienne is your at least most effective player right now.
Well, I would
value always goes to the quarterback.
I don't know if I would consider quarterback a skill position, but if it's hard to say that Beck's not the most valuable player at the quarterback position. But if you take the quarterback position out of the skill position talk, yes, Etienne is absolutely 1,000% your most valuable player right now.
Chat hits on a good point here. Way too many people watching this to not have as many likes as we do people watching. So please take some time out to do that right now. Let's continue with some of these super chats before we get into the rest of our local hour. I tried to send you $4.20, but that wasn't an option, so here's $5. Nice. That's a great way to have your first. Oh, that's his third super sub from Do You Right Genetics. Oh, another super sub. Oh, we're rolling in now. Josh Armstrong says this is to replenish our boy Brooks' gas tank after driving 2,000 miles this weekend. Just to get it out, we were a little soft. We had a one-way flight on the way back.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little soft. 15.5-hour ride instead of a 31-hour ride. So we're pansies for flying back, but nonetheless, let's get to this question. Do you think Tate is back for UF? Rob, question mark. Was it just me, or was Carson getting happy feet in the pocket, feeling pressure that wasn't there? Love you. Feet were a bit erratic at times. However, I felt like he got settled before he got the ball out. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. We can have happy feet. Matter of fact, Peyton Manning's notorious for happy feet. That guy was moving way too much in the pocket. But as long as your feet come to settle ground and as long as your lower body mechanics are aimed and pointed in the right direction when you let it rip, I don't really care what happens before that as long as we're not running into pressure or running out of pockets that are clean. Those are the things that concern me at the quarterback position. Tate back for Florida, I think, right? We saw him dressed this week.
He was warming up.
He
looked pretty good.
Heavy tape job.
Mm-hmm.
I would say he looked hobbled. I would say he looked
like he was thinking about playing.
Okay.
He looked like he was getting ready to play, and he has not done that.
And they said that if it was an emergency, they were going to use him, right?
Yeah, break glass. And that's kind of what I kind of said going into the game is that historically you see a guy dress first, try to go out there in pregame with Ron Corson, and then he's dressing used as a break-in case of glass. No different than we saw Jared Wilson last week.
Yep.
And then the next week he gets back onto the field. I think that's kind of the progression you see Tate ultimately have. Same thing for Rod. The moment I see Rod out and dressed out, the next week is the week I would imagine you start looking for maybe some playing time for Roderick Robinson. All right, let's get back to this Georgia versus Texas reaction, and we'll ask the simple question, just how dominant was this win?
It was dominant from the defensive side of the football from first
jump
snap
street
until the very closing minutes of this football game. The defense never let up, and they had an answer. Every single time that Texas had an explosive, it seemed like they strapped back down. They get forced to punt. I mean, any situation that got put in, I know they gave up 15 points, but 15 points against Steve Sarkisian in this Texas offense, that's basically pitching a shutout, it feels like.
I don't think Texas had a first down conversion without a penalty until the second half. Does that sound right? Or third down conversion.
Oh.
I don't think they had a third down conversion without a penalty until the second half of this football game.
I don't think they did either.
That's incredibly impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly impressive. And it started with stopping the run.
I know. I can tell you for a fact they started 0 for 9. Whether that goes into the third quarter.
And at one point they were 1 for 11, and that's how they got it. It was a penalty.
Yeah, it was the Michael Williams face mask.
Yes, which was in the first half. But at that point they were 1 for 11 on third down. Not good. Not going to win football games doing that.
Yeah, so to go into this question of how dominant was it, I ran into a couple of stats. I think this one really stuck out to me because I think that it seems like in games where Georgia does get beat or when a team is going to get Georgia, they throw the ball a lot. They got really good wide receivers, and they just kind of burn you through the secondary. So since 2021, opponents have thrown the ball 40 or more times against UGA 10 times. In those games, those opponents are 1-9 against Georgia.
Who is the dub?
SEC Championship game 2021. That is the only team since 2021.
So you got to be a Heisman winner.
basically. And Texas, their 57.1 completion percentage is the 4th worst amongst all of those games.
They dropped back 50 times in this ball game for a net total of 177 yards, 7 sacks, and 4 turnovers.
Oof.
That'll do it.
I was flabbergasted they made no adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
Offensively, did Texas. Didn't change a single thing. Now, maybe that's because you just can't in the middle of a football game. We're not going to establish a brand new style of offense. However, I felt like there was ways to alleviate some of that pressure.
And it did feel like there was a certain point where it was, all right, let's try to go for the underneath stuff here. The problem was you were in a big hole at that point. It wasn't necessarily, all right, we can settle for 3-yard check downs. We can settle for just kind of marching the ball down the field. We need to get a score. We kind of need to get one quick. And that's why they kept getting in 3rd and long situations, I think, and that's why you had such a high success rate on 3rd down as a defense. So it was kind of the perfect storm for Texas where you got caught in this hole very quickly. Like before you knew it, it was 10-0 and 17-0 really. And then it was kind of, all right, we need to get something going here. Oh, we just fumbled again. So that was kind of the unfortunate thing.
Plus, too, like even when you were trying to work the underneath routes, and this is something we were talking about when we were breaking down film, if you couldn't establish the run game, so Georgia's safeties are able just to sit back. So you're trying to get explosives. That's how you crawl out of holes like that. That's how Georgia was able to come back against Alabama. So even the quick game stuff that Texas has been turning into deep plays or deep shots and explosives, you couldn't do that because Georgia's safeties didn't have to move. They weren't having to try and guess.
Not a single screen out of empty hit at all in this football game. The ability for Georgia, and that was one of the keys. The other key was the mixed coverage, right? Showing a different look, in particularly the middle of the field. Like whether or not the corners are disguising man coverage isn't that big of a deal against this Texas defense. What is changing the picture in the middle of the field. If I show 2 safeties up in the middle of the field pre-snap, post-snap, the middle of the field better be closed. I better change something there. If I show the middle of the field closed, post-snap, I better open it up. I better create some type of confusion when the ball, or some type of different look when the quarterback turns his back to me, which is what Texas's passing offense is predicated off of. They're going to put the ball into the belly of the back on every single deep shot. I would say 90% of the deep shots that they take. So when I have an offense that's doing that, I better change the looks on him. They did exactly that. The other thing you talked about, they had to stop the run. If you're going to beat Texas, you got to be able to stop the run. Texas could not run the football in this game.
They were allergic to it.
I mean, allergic to it. And a lot of that was due to the fact that they were down in this football game. But most of it was due to the fact that they just couldn't create any type of positive run success on the ground.
Right. Well, the score was 0-0 pretty much the entire first quarter. They couldn't establish the run at all in that first quarter. So it wasn't like, they can't run the ball now because they're down so much. You had 15 minutes and I think 3 offensive drives to set it up. Didn't get it going at all. And obviously that explosive second quarter was what really did them in. But, yeah, no.
They certainly didn't help themselves. They dropped a lot of passes as well.
It was a very unclean game from both ends. There were a handful of deep routes that quarterbacks just flat out missed on for Texas.
Dude, Texas had like 5 false starts. Georgia had 0?
Yeah.
1?
I think 1.
1? Texas looked like the team that was on the road for an extensive portion of this game. I mean, it was crazy. It was weird.
It very much felt like you were watching one team that was battle-tested, that was ready for this moment, that had been there before, and another team that was kind of like, oh, shit, this is a big game.
I would be interested to hear a Texas source confirm this, but somehow, and it's because all these guys know, they have similar friends. They all have similar circles. I was told pregame that Georgia had indications that Texas had taken the week lightly during practice to get everyone healthy and ready to play on Saturday. And you can't do that. I'm sorry. You can't do that. You can't go into football games having a lax week of practice hoping that you're going to be healthy. You can't do that. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying Georgia people that I spoke to pregame were like, hey, this team took a week off in practice.
Yeah, you can't do that. And that's that SEC thing we were talking about. Like, you have to be ready to constantly go in a grind, even if you have players hurt. It can't be like, let's kind of take it easy this week because we need to get some of these guys back. Like, you have to practice physically. There's a reason why Kirby Smart and his staff are so iconic for the Bloody Tuesdays. And it's a reason why Georgia, week in and week out, is one of the more physical teams in college football.
And this is how football works. Like, if you listen to – who's the best coach in the NFL right now? Because I got one answer.
Andy Reid.
Well, he's doing it with the greatest quarterback. Who's the best coach in NFL football right now? I think it's Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
I think it's Dan Campbell. And the most famous video I've got of Dan Campbell in my mind is him in preseason.
Oh, Hard Knocks.
Telling those guys on Hard Knocks, guys, I care about you and you have to trust me, but we have to callous your body. We have to get you prepared for every single week of a professional football season. It's no different than the SEC in terms of week in, week out, consistent physicality. You've got to get ready to play.
And one team played that football game like they knew it was going to have to be physical in the trenches and a physical football game in general. And the other team did not play up, not through 4 quarters, maybe in some spurts, but Georgia from the word go was physical.
And I think the main characteristic of this game that'll kind of stand out to me, and it's not really quantifiable, is that both teams punch each other in the mouth. Like you come out and you have 2 interceptions on your first 3 drives offensively, that's getting punched in the mouth. Whether Texas does that to you or not, that's getting punched on the road. That's definitely getting punched in the mouth. Georgia answered all the punches. They took them fine. Texas kind of crumbled under each and every one. Now, the opportunities that provided Georgia were a little bit better. You fumble inside your own 20. Yeah, that's going to be a bad option for you. But it seemed like Georgia was able to handle those punches way better than Texas, and that's why you found them in a 23-0 lead at halftime.
23-7, right?
Nothing.
It was nothing?
23-0.
Whipping.
Mm-hmm.
Whipping.
But, I mean, to be fair, and I've seen the people saying that, oh, Georgia was gifted a bunch of positive spots on the field and whatnot. It's one of the reasons why they won the game. Well, 1, that was you last week against Oklahoma. And 2, the only drive that you had success on was when Georgia squibbed it or tried to squib it, and you basically got it on the 45-yard line.
And had 2 personal fouls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On that drive.
So it goes both ways.
Do we get to the bottom of that? Or is that just going to be a mystery?
He said he mishit it. He said Peyton
so.
miskicked that ball, and it just happened to hit that guy.
Okay.
But if you listen to his answer on that, he said they lined up in something weird.
He said they lined up
and then
in
he stopped himself.
Well, if you go back, I think they were 15 yards off the ball. I think they were.
An additional 5?
Yeah. Because 10's the threshold. Let me go watch that play.
That's
again.
weird.
Yeah.
But no, after the game, he kind of said he mishit. He said they lined up weird, and then he said he mishit it, and then it just ended at we mishit it. We weren't trying to squib that ball.
I just thought, especially after the football game,
that's a pretty drastic mishit.
Well, and it just kind of fit your game plan. Like, you were an aggressive football team. That's what you were trying to do all game. You were the aggressor in this game. So doing that at a half, that kind of matches that type of MO.
They were hunting. They were hunting for 4 quarters. And that's something I talked about last night. The aggressiveness in the 4th quarter of that football game when Texas had shown no ability to move the ball consistently or at least explosively. Like, if they were driving the ball, they had to do it 12th place to score on Saturday night. And then with 9.5 minutes left in that football game, Georgia gets the ball back up 2 scores. They try to immediately kill them, taking deep shots. Don't run any time off the clock.
Yeah.
On 3rd and 10, they run the ball, run 40 seconds off the clock, punt it back to Texas, immediately 3 and out. Now, some of this field position stuff was self-inflicted, and it's part of their MO, right? They've been a big punt return football team this year. They've had great punt returns, so much to the point where they're like, hey, Silas, like, you've got all of the free reign to do whatever you want back there. Don't worry about fair catching when you know, the normal rules. But heels at the 10, if it carries you back, fair catch, or get rid of it, let it roll into the back. This dude, Silas Bolden, caught, 3 punts inside his own 5?
Yeah.
3 punts inside his own 5,
Caught
all
one.
3 of which were tackled immediately.
Well, caught 1 and then lost an additional 5 yards.
Yeah.
He tried to run back and turn around right into Dominic Lovett. So
And some of that stuff is, like I said, some of that stuff's the way you play. That's how you've coached that.
sometimes letting athletes just go out and try to be athletes doesn't always work out in your favor.
Also, don't know if you saw, but they tried the Bill Belichick field goal block. Did you see that?
Yeah, where he runs.
Yeah, he sprints that. You didn't see it based off your face, and I'm sure people at home didn't see it. That last field goal before the half, Texas has a guy standing on the sideline that sprints down the line of scrimmage, and then as the ball snapped, tries to go block that field goal. It's gnarly. He almost
close.
got it.
He got close.
He almost got it. Yeah, it's the old Bill Belichick field goal block. Now, I thought it was an error. The ball was on the right hash. That needs to come from the left side because we're pulling the ball left.
Yeah.
You're kicking the ball away from the guy that you're doing that for. So I thought that was the only mismanagement. But maybe you don't want to do it on the opposing team sideline because they're alert.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, there was some very interesting things there from a special teams unit that was kind of negatively impacted Texas. I wouldn't say kind of, it did. It negatively impacted Texas in this football game.
And they had the big special teams play. It just got negated for holding.
Yeah.
Which it was.
It was.
I mean, penalties. It's a cliche statement, but penalties have always been the killer, and it has been for Georgia. It was why Texas even scored, because you extended their drive twice. It was why Texas couldn't have that really good field position, because you had a really good kick return, a momentum-changing kick return that was squandered. It was why you almost had a pass interference called. Which, do we want to go ahead and talk about that, or has that kind of been?
Yeah, no, let's get into it.
Has that horse been beaten to death?
No, I mean, you guys haven't talked about it. I've given my first-person point of view. What were you guys' thoughts on it?
I think the take that everyone kind of agrees with is that you have now provided the rest of the college football, and I know you find the hell out of them, and I know that Texas is going to be, cracking down on this, and they might take away student tickets and such as that, but you basically showed the entire world that if you can stop the play of a game for 5 minutes, you can have a chance to change the outcome of a penalty for the better for your team and suffer realistically no consequences for it. Because the fans aren't going to be paying that $250K. They don't care. I mean, yes, a couple people might lose their student tickets. That doesn't really matter in all things considered. If Texas won that game because of that, it would have been the greatest blunder, and it would have been the greatest fan interaction thing ever. Like, people would be praising the Texas fans for changing that game, and you can't let that happen.
That was the number one response from Texas fans on that tweet. It worked.
Yeah, exactly.
It worked.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would imagine they feel a little bit differently after having their tickets revoked.
I wish it would.
Is that possible? Is that real?
Yeah, schools can do that.
How? In-stadium cameras?
Oh, dude, have you not seen these in-stadium cameras?
Oh, yeah.
They can identify everyone's face.
Yeah. I mean, people are like, oh, there's no way they're that high def. Yeah, there is a way. There is absolutely a way they're that high def. Tennessee did the same thing when they threw stuff on the field against Ole Miss. They started taking away tickets. What I would say, though, about this is, at the end of the day, I think it should have been no call. I think that a good no call would have been the right thing.
Just pick the flag up?
Yeah, or just not even throw the flag initially anyways, just kind of let it play out, whatever. But the fact that it did get overturned, honestly, kind of glad it did. Honestly, the way it played out, because if they had kept the flag, if Georgia kept the ball, the whole talking point after that is, well, Texas got cheated out of a momentum play that could have let them come back and win that football game. Because they picked the flag up, there are no excuses. There are no, well, they didn't pick up that flag, so they squandered Texas's only big opportunity to come back and win that football game. Because they picked it up, you have every right, Georgia fans, to stand there and say we won that game fair and square, despite maybe you lost that game, maybe not so fair and square. So I would say be glad that they picked it up. There's no excuses.
What a take.
I like it.
I love that take. That's a one-of-one take. I haven't seen anybody
Yeah,
deliver
no, I
that
wasn't
one.
even thinking about that.
I've seen all kind of takes on this. I haven't seen that one. Good. You tried to cheat us and still got whipped. I love that take
Boy,
from
Jay,
you.
leave no doubt.
Leave no doubt. What a take. What were your thoughts on it from the box? What did it look like? Because I was in the thick of it.
It looked weird. Well, at first I was like, because the one beer can landed in the center of the field. And then the student section was like,
Sign that guy. Sign that
Who's
guy.
got
Rookie
that
of the
huge?
year,
Well,
16-ounce hose.
I don't think the student section started it. Because
I think it was Upper Decker.
Well, no, the first beer can lands like somewhere between
Like
the 45
40.
and 50.
Yeah.
So it was clearly someone in the fan side. Then the student section caught wind of what was happening and was immediately started hurling things. It was like everyone in the box is like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy!" Like you'd have thought the world was ending, and some of those people like pearl clutching to the fine. And I was like, "This is insane." So
As soon as the first one came down, I was like, "Uh-oh.
mhm.
Uh-oh." And,
But honestly,
they sell way more beer at that stadium than in Athens.
Well, that's
way more.
Well, that's
beer.
another thing that might be getting taken away.
Really.
Oh, they did. Yeah, that was kind of mentioned.
They're entertaining that. I mean,
But they also there probably was an influx of beer because they had an influx of people. It's the most the stadium's ever had before.
What was the final ticket about?
105 and some change.
Hmm.
But it seats like 100, so.
That sideline was way too crowded. Way too crowded. There were hundreds of people on Texas's sideline.
It's a
was
big
crazy.
game, dude.
I know,
All the celebrities there.
I know.
Kill Tony was there, dude.
I'm making fun of the wrong things.
Tony Hinchcliffe was there, man.
I know.
Glenn Powell.
I guess Joe Rogan was there too.
Was he?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
saw.
yeah.
They pregame and probably put him in a box during
I
the
didn't
game.
see Rogies.
Yeah, he was out there pregame. They showed him on the ESPN broadcast. either way. Austin reaction? You want to talk about Austin?
Yeah, let's talk
as
about
a whole?
Austin. Let's do it.
All right. What do you got? I'll start it out.
It was underwhelming, dude.
Yeah, when I was a belligerent drunk, that place was awesome. Awesome.
Did you guys do 6th Street?
We
We
did.
did, but here's the thing. Even if I was drinking, I don't think it would have been that much fun. It was very like we got there kind of early, so we got to the hotel around 10ish. Immediately, like set our stuff down. Like, all right, let's go ahead and go out. So we got to 6th Street at probably 10:45, and it was very quiet, and it wasn't very collegey. Like you would think 6th Street would be, especially in a Friday before a game like that, a bunch of belligerent college students. No, it was mostly like 25 and up people that clearly just lived in the city that were going out, treating it like a normal.
And
weekend.
that was East Broad Street, I guess, or the side that's ratchet. And then we went to the other side, Jay Will, where it's all clubs and higher end.
Oh, yeah.
And so we went from, this is interesting, to these are like 30-year-old like working folks that are down here getting hammered.
So I guess everything maybe was on campus.
I think so. I
That's
think that's
probably
what we
it was.
established.
We probably missed out on the party.
Yeah.
But like even it didn't feel like a college. We talked about that the entire night. They had bars that were flying Georgia flags.
Yeah.
Logo carries weight, baby.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, just don't. You're not supposed to be that welcoming. I understand
No.
you want the business, but you're not supposed to be that welcoming.
Yeah, and I saw like one that was like welcome dog fans. It was like
It sounds like this because I think this is kind of the same take that Georgia fans had when they went to Notre Dame. Of man, everybody's so nice to us. So much so that Georgia fans are calling the dogs at a Chicago Cubs game, and they're taking over the stadium. Like it's great. Like I love it when there's good fan interactions and whatnot. But there's also a point of man, you got to hold your own ground. I mean, you got to stamp this as yours.
We were also thoroughly unimpressed with the tailgate. Now it picked up closer to kickoff, but
they're a late start tailgate.
Now
team.
maybe it was because of night game and
Yeah.
all that, late kick, and they had college game day there, so maybe not as many people were
I
setting
didn't see
up.
no tops being popped at 7 a.m.
Yeah,
What?
Yeah,
didn't see that.
Lame.
And like even it was a different environment, for sure. Loud as shit.
The
to start
stadium got
football
loud.
game.
I was very
Loud.
impressed with the stadium.
Loud stadium. Wasn't quite Neyland, but was louder than Auburn. From what I remember, certainly louder than anything I've heard. Not Notre Dame night game against inside Sanford.
Yeah.
And I had my take yesterday about how the football operations department is not quite ready for the SEC, and they're not.
No.
And it sounds like, and here's what I love: we've received growth on this network to where we're corrected, and I'm never going to take correction. I'm not going to get mad at you if you correct me, especially if I'm wrong. All right. But I definitely wasn't exactly wrong yesterday with my take of they're not ready because they're building it next year doesn't mean they're not ready right now. Does that make sense? Like they're building a new indoor practice facility, supposed to start start construction on that this spring. So they'll have new facilities very, very soon. But it needs some SECing, if you will.
Right. And I think overall, we've probably talked a lot of negatives about it. It was a very fun game day experience. It felt like a big college football game. It was fun. I just think that coming into it, you always hear about, Austin's such a great college city. Austin's very fun. The Texas's environment's crazy. And it was crazy, but I think the expectations were so high, especially for it being the game that it was, that there were some aspects, not all of them, that didn't necessarily live up to it.
Flyover was gnarly.
Ooh,
I love a good flyover.
Flyover was sick.
I ain't never seen planes like that. I don't even know what they were. They look like starships from Star Wars. They had the two blue flame jets coming out the back. I mean, wow. Loud.
Yeah, watching College Game Day at home. Even then, I was like, this doesn't feel like this is about to be a top 5
The
matchup.
college game day crowd was weak.
Very deep as shit, but had no clue what was going on.
Tons of people.
No clue what was going on.
Like,
to the point where Herb Street was having to repeat the negative things that the people on the panel were saying about Texas just so he could make sure the fans heard it so they could boo.
I mean,
'Cause that's the whole shtick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, we want to make sure when we say something bad, they're booing us and getting loud.
They shot a hole in a Carson Beck jersey, and the pop for that wasn't even that big.
Bro, every time the cannon went off, I'm like, shit. Every single time.
Not ready for it.
No. And they told us like 90 minutes, 60 minutes, 30 minutes, every time Texas gets the ball, every time Texas scores. And every time look like a little scared, you know what? Every single time. Isaiah Bond ran right into it, and they shot that thing off right in his face. on a touchdown on
Well,
a
they
zipper.
don't actually shoot a cannonball.
Well, I'm aware of this, but it's loud. It's loud as shit. You hear it all over the stadium, and it rocks you. Yeah, I know they don't actually.
Where does it go?
The ashless chaps were wild.
Insane.
We got to stop. We got to stop. It's 2024. Stop wearing ashless chaps out here, man.
I also thought the Desmond Howard stick did not hit.
Oh, my God. You should be there. You should be there because it's so obvious what he's doing. It's so obvious what Desmond's doing right now. Desmond's trying to match McAfee's energy. It's so clear. It's so clear. He's changing up how he's doing things because there's somebody else on the desk that's doing it that way. You can even see him when he's reading the cards because you've been backstage on these things. You can actually see he's very, very demonstrative now. He's trying to be over the top. He's trying to do things that this guy's never done on broadcast before, and I could understand why.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You want to match the energy. You want to make sure that you're living up to what is being set.
Was that a toothpick?
Yeah.
But it was like a plastic toothpick.
Yeah, and
we couldn't get a wood one?
the switch in the accent too. I was just like, come on, Dez. Just give him a good hook 'em if you want to, but we ain't got to do the whole shtick. I thought it was really awkward.
Apparently,
I respect him for
apparently
trying.
all chaps are assless.
Well, isn't that why they're called that?
But why call them assless chaps?
Well, the assless part comes from when you're not wearing pants.
Oh. Okay. Any other Austin reactions?
No, I mean, it was overall, the game environment was fun.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
I thought the county fair outside the stadium was kind of cool.
Very cool. I would go back.
Yeah.
I would go back, and I think if I went back with more.
It's not Starkville.
No. It's not Starkville.
Man.
It's not.
The way you talk about that place, I hope I'd never go. I hope I'd never go.
Damn.
Now, to be fair to Starkville, it was miserably cold.
You had everything going against you.
Everything going against me. So, yeah.
Late night drive, middle of the night drive, and it's really cold. I mean, you had
And some other things going on. Yeah. Nah, it was not a fun experience.
No, we're all not.
But either way, Austin was a good time, and I'm certainly glad we flew back yesterday. God, I'm
I
certainly
bet you
glad.
are.
Yeah.
What surprised you most about this football game?
There were a couple of
The
things.
5 turnovers in the first half?
That was probably the most shocking part. It was, like I said, it felt like a very sloppy game on both ends. But I don't know if you can say it was sloppy or that both defenses were just getting after it. Like that first interception on Carson Beck, we all talked about how that was a great play. The Dalen Everett corner blitz, was it a corner blitz or a nickel blitz?
It was corner blitz.
Okay, the Dalen Everett corner blitz, insane. So the defenses were playing very well in that first half. That's kind of that surprised me. But I think the probably thing that surprised me more about it was, we talked about this as well, the aggressiveness from Georgia. And this to me always stands out because Kirby Smart doesn't make the same mistakes. We saw them go into an Alabama game and kind of seemed like they kind of played on their heels, kind of waited to see what happened to them, and they caught themselves down 28-0 with that, and that forced you to be aggressive. That was not the case here. Georgia came out and said, we're going to come out, we're going to be as aggressive as we can be, we're going to try to punch you in the mouth, we're going to go through the throat consistently, and it paid off for them. And I think that's where you see and what makes Kirby Smart such a great coach. It's very similar to what you saw in 2021 when they lost to Alabama in the SEC championship. They kind of thought that they could just defense their way to a win, didn't really bring a lot of pressures. Coming to the national championship game a few weeks later, they're coming out ears peeled back. So stuff like that just shows to me that Kirby Smart is one of the elite coaches.
It kind of surprised me that the Texas road game against the number 1 team in the country is the game that I'm going to get my toe-to-so for the Dalen Everett and Chaz Chambliss haters. Not that I doubted the two individuals going into that football game, but two of the bigger plays in that game, Chaz Chambliss ends it with a sack on 4th down. Can't wait to show you that tomorrow because it is, I mean, the best pass rush move I've seen Chaz Chambliss put on a tackle in his career. And it needed to happen right then, right there to end that football game, and he delivered it. Dalen Everett, that cover 2 play where he jumps that hook from that tight end is just insane. He has very little business being where he's at in that play unless it's just, you're going to be a great player today. You're going to look like the reason this guy has been the guy for Georgia is because he looks like that every single day during individuals, is what I've been told. Every single day during practice, Dalen Everett looks exactly like he looked Saturday in that football game during practice. And it finally happened for him. And maybe moving forward, this is the version of this football player that we get. An extremely confident physical football player who has all of the physical traits to be a great corner. Just sometimes gets in bad luck situations. He got in some Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, some Saturday where it's like, oh, that's a great ball.
Yeah, that Gunnar Helm catch.
Yeah.
You can't play that any better.
No.
Cannot play that any better than he did.
And then there's the underthrown ball, which gets flagged for PI, and you get this one of the situations you're talking about. But even in that clip, he's engaged with the receiver, but he gets his head turned around. He's looking for the ball. Like, he's doing the things that people are saying he doesn't do. I thought he played great. I thought Dalen Everett played great. Shoot, anybody that stepped foot on the field for that defense on Saturday, I thought played great. And I think that's what surprised me the most, of not the defense, but just how overwhelmed Texas looked. I mean, from the players on the field to even if they were sitting on the bench to even Steve Sarkisian and the coaching staff, there were moments in that football game where I just felt like they looked overwhelmed. And it's why I gave the take I did of, in these games, it feels like you should just go with the better coach, and Kirby Smart's a better head coach. And that's where it falls for me, and that's where it did. And that's kind of what felt like won this game. Of one coach had his team ultimately prepared, and the other coach just kind of felt like he was just at one moment just throwing anything. Like, I thought the timing of Arch Manning checking into this football game was horrible. I thought it was a really bad decision. It's closing minutes of the first half. You're down 23-0, I think, at that point. Why are we putting our backup quarterback in that situation, where I think it's much better to go the route of go into halftime? If you want to make a decision then, do it then, where you have a moment to really talk him through this, like, hey, we're checking you in, may not be for the whole game, we'll see what happens, and really get him prepared and this team as a whole prepared for this moment. I feel like doing it in that situation was a horrible decision.
Here's my theory on that, and I think this is what we kind of talk about, how, they didn't really do anything to adjust to Georgia's pass rush. I think Arch Manning was the adjustment to that pass rush, because we all know Quinn Ewers is not the most mobile guy there. If you send a blitz after him that can get home, Arch Manning is probably the better idea to make that miss. We saw that against Jalen Milroe. We saw Georgia have multiple pressures to get home, and they just couldn't get him on the ground. You kind of bet, and you saw that with that Arch Manning drive. He was moving the ball down the field with his legs. It just so happened that they ended up getting him fumbling the ball and causing that whole drive to go for naught. But the most efficient drive that Texas had in that first half was when Arch Manning was on the field running the ball around. I think that's because they were trying to take advantage of the aggressive blitzing by Georgia, or the aggressive pressures by Georgia. So I think that's probably why you saw the Arch Manning. I do agree it was an interesting timing to be like, really, we're going to do this 2 minutes left in the first half. Why not wait until the second half to kind of maybe, just let Quinn ride it out? It was very weird. I agree with that, but I also somewhat understand it.
His 21-yard scramble against two-man, right up the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. Dan Jackson almost upends him, but he finds a way to make Dan miss just a little bit to make the tackle a little bit less gruesome. That 21-yard run was by far their biggest explosive play in the football game. They had, or at least running the football. They had a 34-yard catch from Matthew Golden, a 23-yard catch for Gunnar Helm, that Moss ball against Dalen Everett. Outside of that, they were completely stagnant. They had an inability to move the ball effectively and efficiently. And so you're right. Maybe Manning's legs would have been the biggest answer for what was happening to that pass rush, but he didn't exactly look comfortable either. There were several throws that he missed, but I'm with you in the sense that, really?
Yeah.
Really? You're going to throw that guy out there in that situation and then just say, all right, pull the plug on him and bring the other guy back? And I understood to an extent, like you're on that sideline, you see the quarterback's eyes, you understand where he's at. Mm-hmm. And it was clear to him, at least as a football coach, that Quinn Ewers needed some time to breathe.
Yeah.
Needed some time to calm down, needed some time to catch his breath.
I think also, and I don't want to put any speculations out there,
he's still hurt.
That's what I was saying.
He's still hurt.
I thought when he got pulled at first, it was like, oh, Quinn's dealing with something.
I thought watching him warm up, he was dealing with something. This is a rotational thrower who was not using his core.
And that's what I was about to get into of, even though Arch may have been the adjustment, I can almost guarantee you that this was prepared for because of this, I would say. That Quinn is dealing with an injury. And if you're playing it, especially if you think you're going to be able to get after the quarterback, I'm sure that there was some stint of last week for Georgia where it's like, hey, we have to be ready for this. Mm-hmm. And if this happens, like this changes their offense a little bit. Now, they did have some success, but it almost felt too obvious. So that might happen.
And I mean, history does suggest against Georgia teams that maybe changing the pace with the quarterback has yielded some successful results in the past. So I get it, but I do agree with you. It was not the right time.
I also found it really weird that the moment Arch Manning came in, he ran the same exact first play that he ran for Arch against UTSA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't matter to the common fan, all right? But when the defensive coordinator on the other side of the ball is Glenn Schumann and the head coach is Kirby Smart, and then the first play, you get the guy in, all of a sudden the nickel's firing, all right, and he is blitzing into the rollout side of the quarterback, and the backside safety fires down on the deep over, and everything's immediately covered. And, oh, by the way, the arrow route gets conflicted coming out of the back of the backfield. That tells me the defense might have been prepared, right? That tells me the defense might have seen or gotten a phone or gotten a call in that will counteract exactly what they thought they were going to get. And that's because you have some tendencies as a coordinator. And that's something that, as a Sark truther, all right, as someone who has, you know, done some loving on Sark, that's an error. That is an issue with what you've got going on. And I thought there was some obvious points of criticism in this football game for a football coach who I've stood on the table for and said, this guy is great. He was not great Saturday night. There's no doubting that.
Mm-hmm.
3 takeaways. What do you got? Give me 3. I'm going to make mine up right here on the spot.
You didn't write them?
Nope. I told you, man, I mailed in this local hour because I am exhausted.
That's fine. I get that.
I'm
The
exhausted.
first take I had, and this is the one I gave you walking off the field, it doesn't take your best performance to beat the number 1 team in the country on the road. And I think we all kind of came in worrying that, hey, if Georgia doesn't turn in their best game of the season, they don't win. Now, you could argue this was the defense's best game of the season. It was far from the offense's. It was far from a complete game. I still think there's a lot left in the tank as far as Georgia performances go. But you ended up winning by 15 against what people said was the best team in college football. So there's that. That's a takeaway. Second one is Jalen Walker is the best player on your defense. We've said Malachi Starks is there. We've talked about how Dan Jackson is. Michael Williams might be. Jalen Walker, what he showed in that Saturday game, showed me everything I need to know. He absolutely shined. It was his best performance of the day. I think that it kind of cemented him as he's your go-to pass rush guy. 2, he's the best player on your defense, if not the most talented when it comes to getting after the quarterback. And then 3, Carson Beck is a winner. And I know that this might be a controversial take because he had 3 interceptions. He put you in a couple of interesting situations for your defense to have to get you out of. But 2 plays that really stick out to me. It's after Texas scores that play. I think it's 23-15 or 23-8. You need to extend the ball. It's 3rd and 10.
Scramble.
No, not the scramble. Perfectly lines it up to Arian over the Dover over the middle. Yeah. I don't think they got points out of that drive. They might have actually, but the fact that you were able to extend that drive, eat some more time off the clock, and kind of silence that crowd, massive. And then the scramble on 3rd down. Showed me all I need to know. He might not be every in-and-out play the best player on the field, but he does enough to win, and that's what you need at the quarterback position. Stetson Bennett was the same way. There were a handful of times where it was like, oh, my God, what is Stetson Bennett doing right now? But when you needed him the most, he always made the play. And he did the same thing against Alabama. So Carson Beck is a winner. That's my takeaway from that.
The run in the goal line situation was huge.
That was all him, too.
It
He
was.
calling his own number.
Man, and he fought for every yard. And honestly, if you want to play this game too, it was almost better that he didn't score because you got a few more plays and you got a few more times to chew out some clock.
All right. Hey, that boy Christian Kirby, give him 3. I got my 3 right here. Number 3, Michael Williams is almost 100%.
Ooh, he looked good.
That's the closest we've seen that guy look like what he's supposed to look like all season long. And we saw that in the first half against that Clemson game. He was dominant, and then Phil Moffitt does what he does. Number 2, Etienne is your answer. When you need big plays, Etienne's going to be it. And giving him an opportunity to be one-on-one with anybody in open space is, at this rate, a 100% win. I have not seen the first defender take down Etienne yet. I take that back. Texas's safety got some chin strap work the very first open play. Etienne, it was very clear, I'm not going to make this guy miss. I'm going to put my face mask through his right quick, set some damn tone. Etienne, tremendous football player, tremendous option. And my number 1 observation and takeaway from this football game was very Beck related as well. Beck ain't the problem, but he can certainly improve on the run, specifically on the run. All right, when you escape to your right and you're extending plays and there's nobody running you down, now is not the time to check the football down. Nope. Now is the time to take a shot. When we extend and we get outside the pocket, the defense is now shitting themselves across the country. Everybody is. The worst thing we can do is allow a quarterback sneak right, get out. Oh, now he's extending plays. Now the play has gone from a 3-second play to a 7-second play. Do not check that ball down. No more. Do not check that ball down. Take the shot and keep your eyes downfield, man. Alabama, 70-yard explosive left on the tape. Texas, 65-yard explosive left on the tape. Eyes up. When you start rolling right, eyes up, but you're not the problem. Hey, that boy Brooks, give him 3. What do you got for me, Jay Will?
This team is elite, and you still have not seen them play a perfect game, but you beat the number 1 team in the country by multiple scores. I thought it was going to take a complete game, almost dang near perfect game to win this game, and you didn't have to have it. The offense did not have a perfect day, but your defense did, and your defense had the absolute most perfect day, and they showed up exactly when they needed to, and that just continued to prove, and really just not continue, but prove to me that this is an elite team, or at least really, really good, because maybe this is a season where there aren't too many elite teams, or there are no elite teams, but this is a really good football team. This is one of the best teams in college football. Number 2, this defensive front, and specifically the pass rushing, this might be the best it's ever been under Kirby Smart. Pass rushing.
It's hot.
You think it is?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it is.
Sir, there was once a time when Trayvon Walker, Nolan Smith, Devontae Wyatt, Jalen Carter, Channing Tindall, and Quay Walker were on the field
and
together.
This is what I'll say to that.
What are you doing?
Listen. And this is what I'll say to that is I think that because you had a Jalen Carter and because you had a Jordan Davis, that allows a lot of stuff for it to be opened up to you. Mm-hmm. I think individually, the fact that you don't have one of those and you're still getting home at this high of the success rate, that's what makes me lean to say this. And so maybe it is a little bit hot, but it's really good. It's the best you've had in a couple of years for sure.
It's the best execution. Is that fair?
I'm
best
cool with
execution we've seen as a pass rush unit.
I just think that I've said it time and time again that this unit has played really well all year. I've been impressed with them all year. Jalen Walker, people are saying it was a money-making Saturday for him, and it was. But Jalen Walker has been playing really good all year. He's been getting after the quarterback every single game. I mean, this was just one where it was big scene, big stage, and he had 3 sacks in the first half. So I think that unit deserves their flowers, and a lot of them. And
all
then,
right, and is that all 3?
I have one more.
Okay, come on.
Then my last one, Trevor Etienne needs more. Give him more. Please give him more. He deserves more.
That's my first tweet from the field Saturday.
Yeah, I was right with you.
25 totes tonight. Etienne needs it. I don't think he got it. I don't think he's got a game of 20 carries yet this season. But
can you give the star running back in your room 25 carries when it's in that situation right now?
No, and that certainly plays a role.
You can't. You're 100% right.
You can't run him in the ground like that.
You can't.
And I get why you want to see him get the ball more because he's that explosive and he's that dangerous and he's that exciting to watch. But you're one twisted ankle away from a true freshman and Cash Jones being really the only 2 options you have at the running back position.
Is Jay Will, give him 3. Is you don't know ball the most disrespectful thing in our chat? Is that the biggest way to point out hey man,
this guy doesn't know ball.
This guy doesn't know ball. Let's get him out of here.
Yeah.
No, don't leave. Stay and learn.
Mm-hmm.
Stay and learn. You might know ball.
Who's chat getting onto right now?
I don't know.
I didn't even see that.
I don't know, but I see that so and so doesn't know ball.
I think I
see that quite often.
We're at a point now where chat's honestly too much to keep up with while I'm on show.
That's the way it ought to be.
Well, but when we first started doing this, I could look over and read the last 5. Now I feel like I've missed an entire conversation if I look down for 10 seconds. So. Shout out to the chat growing, man.
Shout out to the chat. Shout out to this channel. You mentioned Jalen Walker, and I think this is a good transition to talk about the Jalen Walker bag game. It's been the bag season.
Yes.
My man is in it right now. Micah Parsons with the shout out. JJ Watt with the shout out.
Ooh.
I mean,
JJ or Micah Parsons said he was the best linebacker in college football.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, it's not the first time Micah Parsons has shouted
Is he a
about
linebacker?
He's a draft him guy.
He's a football player.
He's a draft that guy.
He's a football player.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
He's what I think everyone said Harold Perkins was going to be.
Ooh.
That's going to get clipped. Shit.
It's true, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's wrong.
Though. He's a better inside linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that dude's doing everything.
He's been more Harold Perkins.
The only thing he hasn't done is pick a ball off or make an impact play with the ball in the air yet.
Yeah.
But I don't expect a 245-pound specialty pass rusher when he came out of high school to be able to do this.
He dang near picked that one off in the first possession of Texas
as a hook defender. Yeah, I mean it was from Jump Street. Reasons to doubt yourself if you're Quinn Ewers. My God, the first ball just got picked off. Where did that guy come from? The best tweet from Saturday was those 2 photos, or that photo of Quinn and Arch sitting on the bench, and with that just, my God, these guys are good look on their face. And the tweet said, "Hey man, how are they? Coach, they're big, they're fast. Anything else? They're fast." You already said that. The Friday Night Lights quote was delightful in that moment, because that's exactly what it was. It was a sense of overwhelming
those boys were in hell.
performances from that Georgia defense. But nah, man, this dude, that's the biggest mistake I've had all year was, all right, Mikel's moving to Jack, Damon Wilson's elevated, Gabe Harris is elevated. So we go to inside linebacker, Raylan Wilson's elevated, CJ Allen's elevated, Smile Mondon's coming back. One of my worst takes I've ever had in my career is, where's the growth potential for Jalen Walker? Oh, at both. At both spots. I'm just gonna do them both. I'm gonna play really, really well as well. What an idiot. Stupid. This guy.
Is he the first Georgia player taken off the board in the NFL?
I thought you were gonna say, is he the first Georgia player you've missed that bad on going into a season?
Well, I mean, we can answer both those questions.
Well, I'm fresh off a Carson Beck first year starting, gonna lead the nation in third down conversion rate. Kind of a hit the next year, the biggest whiff of your career with Jalen Walker. So yeah. What were you asking?
I'll say, is he the first Georgia player drafted in this year's draft?
Nah, it'll be Keller, Malachi, or Carson.
I think too, like
I still think he's a late first round draft pick. I think the size and it's great to say he could be Micah Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
It's another to have to be the defensive coordinator that figures out how to use Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are two different things.
Yeah, and two, I think after the conversation we had last week about discussing draft stocks for these players and knowing that Malachi has only risen up these draft boards, especially knowing too, like, he played really well on Saturday, and if he continues to play really well, I mean, that guy's going to be a top 10, top 13 pick.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Walker made so much money this weekend that
100%.
I mean, he moved up 10 draft spots at least in the first round, I would say. What are you writing over there?
Having big games and those type of moments are so impactful for you as an individual, because of course, Georgia fans are going to continue to watch Jalen Walker throughout the rest of the year, and they're going to watch him play every single game for the rest of this season. But a lot of other people, they're tuning into Georgia, Texas, and they might not tune into Georgia again until Georgia versus Tennessee or Georgia versus Ole Miss.
Yeah.
To shine in that game was so big, because it is a game that everyone was watching. I mean, you can do that against Mississippi State and Tennessee Tech, and yeah, it's really good for your performance, and that's good tape to put on the field, but not everyone's going to see that. And then some people are going to undermine that with, but it was against so-and-so. To do that against Texas, the number one team on the road in the biggest game of the week, biggest game of the year, massive for your career.
All right, let's talk about game balls real quick. I'm going to go offense first, and I'm going to go with a not game ball, because we talk a lot about great things on this network. It's also, I feel like sometimes my job to point out some errors that I know everyone else is seeing. Left tackle is borderline concerning at this point. When things weren't working Saturday, it was because the left tackle was getting spun on, and it's not good, man. It's not good.
Well, it's not just in pass pro as well. I think that there were a handful of times in bubble screens where you couldn't get out and seal the corner or seal the safety that was coming down, and it was why things looked. I mean, that one end around where that was a bust. I don't know if you went over that on film yet, but the one where they go to air and he's hit immediately by the end comes off untouched.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was either the tight end.
It was off the right side though.
Yeah, but still, like, tackle play in general has just been concerning, honestly.
Yeah. All right, my actual offensive game ball goes to Etienne. I think that's too easy.
Yeah, I think that was the easiest one. It was hard because Etienne was really the only one where you could say he had a good offensive night. Like, every receiver had inconsistent play. I think Aaron Smith was the only one who didn't have a drop, but also I question what was going on in that interception play.
Yeah, he clearly. I'm gonna text some sources after the show.
Did not look like he was expecting.
He didn't run the right route. He didn't run the right depth of that route, and didn't look like he was expecting the football.
It looked like he was going to block.
Yeah, or felt like he had more time to create separation at the top of the route. One or the other. It was not as much on the quarterback in that situation, in my opinion, as it was on the receiver.
Yeah.
And I know everyone wants to throw the 3 interceptions, but I mean, should the Lawson Lucky interception have been caught?
Yeah. Not now.
Hit his hands. Bad ball.
Not a good throw.
Bad ball. We'll start there.
I think it was, yeah.
Could have been caught.
I think you say both.
Yeah.
I think you say should have been
Two
caught,
things
bad
can
ball.
be correct at the same time, and that was a catchable ball in my opinion.
Because I think Lawson tells you
That
I should have caught.
Yeah.
I'll say this, I don't even want to do that.
Don't do the Brock thing.
Yeah.
What's your game ball offensively?
I'll go Arian Smith because I think for as inconsistent as the wide receiver group was that week, and he had some issues too. He got you out of some situations and he had catches. I don't think he dropped the ball all night, so I'll go that because I don't want to go Trevor Etienne because he's the obvious answer.
My football brain is so screwed. I'm sitting here writing defensive game balls and wrote down Jalen Kimber. Fucking idiot.
Another one?
I'm just an idiot.
I'm gonna give mine to Dylan Bell because I also had ETN, but I'll give it to Dylan Bell because I think he had impactful plays even when maybe he wasn't getting the ball. Like the fact that you got to use Dylan Bell, put him in the backfield, motion him out, go to empty. I think that has to do with the fact that Dylan Bell, because of his skill set, what he can do, because he has shown he's a threat out of the backfield, that you can show that look and it makes an impact on the defense. I thought the end-around play was great, so I'll give it to him. I thought he had, outside of course, a couple of drops, I thought he had a good day.
Defense. I'm giving it to Dalen Everett.
Damn it. I was going to do that too.
Okay, go ahead. Talk Jalen Walker then.
You want me to talk Jalen?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I think there's two other really good ones.
Let's talk Dalen Everett.
Well, I mean,
it was a needed game for him.
I was going to say that. The obvious answer is
He
Jalen
looked
Walker.
relieved post-game, didn't he?
What's up?
Dalen, to me, seeing him in post-game, he looked relieved.
I didn't see him that much. I saw him when they were doing media press.
When he walked by me, he had a look on his face like,
had a good night.
About time.
Well, here's the thing. Jalen Walker, yes, was the most dominant player on that defense. Yes, I just said he's the best player on your defense and all that. He had a great night. But if you don't have that fumble forced by Dalen Everett and then that pick, I don't think that things really get momentum rolling as much as you did. Like, Dalen Everett kind of changed the trajectory of that game because at the time it was 0-0. That fumble he caused was what helped you take the lead, and then eventually the interception helps you go up by 2 or 3 scores, I think. So if he doesn't make those plays, I don't know if Jalen Walker's performance is as shined upon because it might have been for nothing.
Look, I love Kirby Smart as much as the next guy. I'd probably leave this day job in a heartbeat to go work for him. But what the hell was he talking about saying that Dalen should have taken that ball back to the house for 6? What was he talking about? Post-game, he was like, hey, great play. Stay up on your feet and score. Coach, come on, man.
That would have been
much.
some like Anthony Evans type balance to keep
some
your feet.
crazy ass
That
body
would've been wild.
control. I mean,
That's
holy hell.
but that's the Kirby thing where we
Yeah,
we
it
talk
is.
about
Never
that.
enough.
Yeah.
Never
Where
enough.
if a player has a less than subpar game, he will talk about all the good things they did. If a player has a great game, he'll talk about the things he can do better because he will consistently try to elevate his players and get more out of it. So you come to expect that by Kirby Smart right now.
Now, Kirby, I'm going to be honest. I ain't taking a pay cut, so we're going to have a talk. But you know, I would.
Hey, just flexing on YouTube now. Shout out, respect.
I'm going to give 2 game balls because I think both of these
2
players
balls?
need to be mentioned. Raylan Wilson won. Raylan Wilson deserves a game ball.
Eye discipline, elite.
Oh, I thought he played so well, and it showed up on tape. I was glad. I was happy to know that how I thought Raylan Wilson played on Saturday showed up on the tape as well. That my thought was confirmed. I thought he played in a crucial moment too, where you're down a starter, you're down a veteran, you have to play well. And we said it last week of Raylan Wilson, you got to play well. He played extremely well. And then I'm also giving one to Jonell Aguero. I thought he played phenomenal as well. So up until the targeting, which I know your thoughts on it, I have mine too. But
What?
The thing I hate most about this targeting rule is that when the offensive player is lowering his head, I think it's so dumb that we have to flag that as targeting, or not even have to. I feel like because there is targeting exists, players are now taught to you have to hit the lower part of the body. You can't go for the head, can't go above the neck, anything like that. But when an offensive player lowers his head and is now on equal ground with you, that still get targeting, but it's still flag targeting. But what is the defensive player supposed to do in that situation? He's doing what he is taught to do now in college football.
The thing I hate about it is we've had this rule for 10 years, and there hasn't been an adjustment to it of targeting 1, targeting 2, where if a targeting play occurs in the second half, that player then misses the first half of the other game. That's the most ludicrous rule. Have the SEC go back and review that. Wasn't malicious, wasn't intentional. Neither of those hits were intended to cause injury to the head or neck area. Now Georgia has to go into a game without 2 starting safeties for 30 minutes of play because of some questionable officiating calls. And oh, by the way, what if this were against a Texas or at Alabama, or it was a major game. Not saying Florida isn't anything special to write home about, but it's unfair, honestly. And that goes for all of college football, not just because it happened to Georgia.
The problem, and you're right, there should be a penalty 1 and penalty 2 or a flagrant type of version of it, but it's a letter of a law rule. The letter of the law is leading with the crown of the helmet or, and the key part, or forcible contact to the head or neck area.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of those plays, the KJ Bolden play included,
And that's the other problem.
you're leading with the crown of the helmet.
Well, that's the other problem, too. They called on Janelle Aguero, which kind of. The KJ Bolden hit was just as much. It was probably the most.
That was
blatant.
was the one.
Is that the Ryan Wingo hit?
Yeah,
That was the one.
probably the most blatant example
I
of
thought
targeting.
dude was dead. I mean, my God.
I thought that was the one of, oh, that's it. Like he gone.
He gone.
He gone. There goes Bolden.
Nope. Ball down. Run it up. Let's go. It's like, whoa. No, I think it's an offensive sport. We know this.
Mm-hmm.
Every rule is implemented for offensive success, and those are by letter of definition of the law, targeting penalties, and it sucks, and it is the way it is, but the flag gets thrown in those situations, and it will continue to get thrown in those situations.
There just needs – I
1 versus 2. Yeah.
1 versus 2.
And
And
here's what's so weird about this sport. They poll these coaches during these coaches clinics, and then they'll change rules immediately after that. The sport of college football has been bitching about targeting for a decade now, like Kirby said, and no one's fixing it. The sport of college football is bitching about fake injuries, and guess what? This offseason, you bet your ass, they're going to fix it. Dan Lanning does something, and they change it immediately. We've been complaining about this rule forever, and they're not changing it. It's just so weird.
The most they've done is that the player doesn't have to go back to the locker room now. They can remain on the sideline.
Yeah, moral standpoint
Which,
clause.
what the hell is that going to do?
Yeah, nothing.
I didn't expect to go
I've
on
just
a
always
target.
laughed at professionals aren't the ones that get ejected, but you're asking – well, I get that now they get paid, but you're asking the ones that aren't professionals that you're held to a higher standard than what the professional athletes are. I think that's insane. I think that's absolutely ludicrous.
That was cool. Got on a targeting rant at the end of the show.
Yeah. Chat's talking about offensive targeting. Didn't they have that at one point?
Yeah, there
And
was.
they got
I
rid of
think
that
you
rule?
can technically still have a play call as targeting.
I haven't seen it called in 2 years.
I do remember one being called because like, what?
Yeah. Running back can't leave with the crown of
It
his
was like
helmet.
the
What?
running back like launched into a defender or something like that. I can't remember.
It's mostly on crackback blocks that you see, but they've
For sure.
eliminated crackback blocks anyway. So I remember in the Chick-fil-A Bowl, Oklahoma versus LSU one year, a linebacker absolutely got his head taken off by a Oklahoma guy. I think it was a running back. Just go back and watch that game. You'll remember. It was 4 years ago. I can't remember specifically, but
Are we good?
I think we are.
good.
We have a whole nother film study coming up tomorrow.
You dang
Second
right.
half. I
Dang
get
right.
to take the notes on that. And guess what we're also doing this week? We're going to take a look at that Alabama-Tennessee game because I'm curious. I'm curious. Any other games that we should look at? Should we
How-
preview Texas A&M,
How
LSU?
about you do Michigan and Illinois?
This guy.
I do think it would be
I'm
fun
serious.
to watch some Texas A&M defense.
Yes.
I would like to watch that.
That's we got dudes defense.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
I want to know what the heck they got going on.
Dudes. They got dudes. Line of scrimmage dudes, corner dudes. Safety's pretty good, but they got dudes. And, yeah, you know I like to check some dudes out on tape.
Oh, we hit it.
That wasn't good. Love you. Bye.
I got it on camera too.